Chapter 1. The Class Transfer Ceremony begins. Shenxia Empire, Jiangning Province, Shihai City. On the athletic field of Shihai No. 1 Middle School, a few technicians were finishing the setup of a glowing magic circle. Today was the unified profession change ceremony for the school's seniors. Over 100 12th graders sat in straight rows, listening to Principal Lu Yun's address. "Students," Lu Yun said, "after 3 years of study, you've absorbed the theoretical foundations of your professions. Today, you'll take the next step. You'll change professions and decide the course of your lives. You know I won't mince words. Work hard, aim high, strive to match the achievements of our alumnus Su Qianxing and become pillars of humanity." The Su Qianxing Lu Yun mentioned had once been a student at No. 1 Middle School. He had changed professions and become a holy mage, a powerhouse now ranked at level 80. Lu Yun often held him up as an example for the students to emulate. Lin Moyu watched the gathering spell circle being prepared on the field. His expression darkened with concentration, and anticipation tightened his chest. Today, everything would change. After living in this world for several years, I already knew how it worked. This place runs like a game. Everyone chooses a new job in their 3rd year of high school. You gain experience by clearing dungeons, conquering secret realms, fighting on battlefields, or slaying monsters in the wild. With enough experience, you level up, learn skills, and grow stronger. Humanity survives by carving out territory from demons and monsters. Countless sages bled and died so we could have the lives we have now. Job changes are no longer a gamble. The success rate is 100%. So the only question is whether you get a good job or a bad one. Naturally, the primary combat classes are the most coveted, followed by support roles, and finally life or crafting professions. But that's a broad brush view. Powerful support classes are extremely desirable too. Whether you're running a dungeon, exploring a secret realm, or holding the front line, good support roles are indispensable. Sometimes it's better to be short on damage dealers than to be short on supports. The same goes for lifestyle classes. A lifestyle profession can be god-tier powerful. In Lin Moyu's view, whether a job is good often depends more on the person than the label. There are terrible main combat classes and godlike supports. A shaft of light shot into the sky as the job transfer circle activated. Lu Yun waved and called, "Follow me, let's go." He led over 100 high school students out to the playground. Lin Moyu fell in with the group, turning over in his head which path he might change to. No one could say for certain what they'd end up as. Some people who were ordinary in everyday life became unstoppable frontline fighters after changing. Others who shone normally wound up in lifestyle roles. Even though he and Xiaoshui were known as the two prodigies of No. 1 Middle School, he wouldn't really know what he could become until he stepped into the circle. Someone patted his shoulder. Gao Yang came up grinning. "What do you most want to switch to?" he asked. Lin Moyu met his look, shook his head, and said nothing. Gao Yang laughed and waved a hand. "I'm not joking. If I could pick, I'd become a knight. Look at me, tall and broad. As a knight, I'd be noble and imposing, and I could protect that girl." His build did suit the cavalier path, but switching into a frontline combat class was notoriously difficult. According to the statistics Lin Moyu had compiled, the chance of transferring into a main combat profession was only around 10%. Out of more than 100 students, no more than 15 ever made it. Gao Yang went on talking, but Lin Moyu only offered a faint smile and stayed silent. He wasn't one for conversation. Despite his excellent grades, he had few friends, and some people even said he was odd. After a few more words, Gao Yang drifted off to join the others. Someone tugged at his sleeve. "Why are you wasting your breath on Hua Bozi? He won't even answer you." "Who cares?" another scoffed. "So what if he studies more than the rest of us?" "Today I still don't know what I can switch to," someone else muttered, and the conversation moved on. "Maybe he's just like that by nature." A few students murmured. Lin Moyu wasn't very popular. Most of them thought he was cold and arrogant, and his top grades only made people assume he looked down on everyone. Gao Yang chuckled. "Actually, Moyu just doesn't like to talk." Of course, no one believed that. Lin Moyu didn't bother to explain. There was no reason to. When the group reached the magic circle, Lu Yun stepped forward and bowed slightly to an old man. Master Zhang, sorry to trouble you today. Master Zhang waved his hand. No trouble at all. He didn't hide his information. The display above him was plainly visible to everyone. Zhang Qi level 2 Formation Master. Lin Moyu's eyes widened. A Formation Master, and at level 52. Formation Masters were rare as auxiliary specialists and highly prized on the battlefield. Once a formation was set, anyone who walked into it could be killed. After a few polite words, Lu Yun and Zhang Qian fell back together. The teacher unfolded a sheet of paper and scanned the room. The students whose names I call will step into the transfer formation, he said. He met their eyes. I've taught you everything you need to know. Don't be nervous. Just relax. The first name, Shu Da. Shu Da swallowed and walked forward, unease tightening his steps. He stepped into the glowing circle. The formation thrummed to life, and in a flash of brilliant light, his transfer completed. A clear voice echoed, "Lifestyle occupation farmer." Shu Da went pale. He hadn't expected to end up a farmer. Around him, classmates murmured, "He's a farmer now." That's not so bad. If he trains, he could become a master farmer, or even a holy farmer someday. Yeah, life occupations can be pretty decent, another student added, trying to reassure him. Chapter 2. The Vision of Job Change. I won't lose to you. Shu Da stepped out of the job change circle to a chorus of quiet consolation from his friends. Relax, someone said. Don't be so tense. Hands patted his shoulder, but the awkwardness lingered on his face. The next student to step forward was Zhang Li. When the light settled over him, a bright banner flashed. Life occupation, chef. Zhang Li beamed. My father's a chef, he said proudly. I guess I inherited the trade. He sounded perfectly content. One by one, the others took their turns. Hang Wen went next, then Big Bull. The results were much the same, mostly life occupations. A few people became support roles here and there, but main combat jobs hardly appeared at all. As the line thinned, Lu Yun's expression darkened. Beside him, Zhang Shan, the organizer in charge of the job change circle, watched the data with a clinical eye. This year's students are middling, he remarked. That's right. Lu Yun sighed. No rare jobs yet. Zhang Qian snorted. Rare occupations? Don't make me laugh. There hasn't been a genuine rare job at first high for years. I'd kill for an advanced combat class job, Lu Yun muttered. He smiled to himself. No way. Shihai City only has 1 or 2 rare jobs like that each year. I'm asking for too much. Xia Shui. When Lu Yun called, Xia Shui stepped forward. Before she left, she shot a challenging look at Lin Moyu. The two of them had been the school's prodigies. Everyone knew them as the pair of geniuses from the same middle school. In every grading period, Lin Moyu had edged out Xia Shui, leaving her perpetually second. She'd never been able to swallow the defeat. Lin Moyu ignored the look and kept his cool, expression unreadable. Humph, Xia Shui sniffed. Just wait. Miss Ben will show you who the real genius is. Like a proud swan, she walked straight into the job assignment circle. Zhang Qian, who had been sitting with his eyes closed the whole time, opened them and gave Xia Shui a quick appraisal. This girl's not bad. Lu Yun blinked. Why do you say that, Master Zhang? Her mental strength is over twice that of an ordinary person, Zhang Qian replied. She's got the makings of a mage. The word hit Lu Yun like a jolt of electricity. At once, his spirits lifted. Mage. Mages are a top-tier combat class. This year, no advanced main combat occupations had shown up. If a mage like this appeared, it would be an extremely rare profession. The magic circle spun, bathing the room in brilliant light. Then, without warning, 2 enormous fireballs shot up from the glow and burst like fireworks. Lu Yun trembled with excitement. Unbelievable. A rare class. A vision appeared, the kind that announced rare occupations. Main combat class, rare occupation, elemental mage. Lu Yun could hardly contain himself. He had just been saying that rare jobs were nothing but wishful thinking, and yet here it was, his wish granted the moment it was announced. Around him, whispers broke out. Elemental mage? That's insanely powerful. Once they level up, their offense must be terrifying. Yeah. In a place like Shihai City, a god-level elemental mage could cast a forbidden spell and wipe everything out. As expected of a genius, they really earned that. Xia Shui stepped down from the glowing magic circle, face alight with excitement. Zhang Qian deliberately praised, Little girl, you're very impressive. Lu Yun's face broke into a broad, radiant smile. Xia Shui returned Zhang Qian's gaze and gave him a respectful salute. Thank you for the compliment, senior, she said. As soon as Xiaoshui stepped back, a cluster of classmates pressed in around her, firing off questions. Main combat occupations were exceptionally rare. Everyone wanted to know. Occupations here were not only categorized by type, but also graded. Except for lifestyle jobs, which weren't ranked, combat and support occupations were divided into 5 tiers: low, middle, high, rare, and legendary. Legendary types were almost non-existent. The whole Shengxia Empire might not even pay, reduce one in a decade. Rare occupations were uncommon, but seen more often. For example, a place like Shihai City might see one a year, sometimes 2. Both Xiaoshui and Su Qianxing, the one Lu Yun liked to mention, were classified as rare main combat types, which explained the intense interest. Lin Moyu, someone called. Lin Moyu heard his name, stepped forward, and walked toward the magic circle. Xiaoshui turned to him and shot a challenging look, clearly ready for whatever came next. Lu Yun looked at Master Zhang and asked, "Master Zhang, what do you think of this boy?" Zhang Qian glanced once at Lin Moyu and said, coolly, "Other than being unusually calm, there's nothing remarkable about him." Lu Yun frowned. "Our academy has 2 prodigies," he said. "Shishui just now was the second. This one is the first." Zhang Qian shrugged lightly. "Academic standing and the results of a job transfer aren't always linked. You should understand that." Lu Yun nodded, but he couldn't hide his hope. If the transfer produced another rare vocation, that would change everything. At that moment, the magic circle flared to life, blasting a white-hot light. The bright afternoon dimmed as if a shadow had fallen across the sun. Within heartbeats, a bank of dark clouds swelled overhead. A cold wind tore through the courtyard, and the temperature plunged. Day felt like night, an apocalypse in miniature. "Why is it so windy all of a sudden?" someone murmured. "Look at those clouds. It wasn't supposed to rain. Why is it so cold?" Lu Yun stared, alarmed. "What's happening?" Zhang Chan's eyes stayed fixed on the circle. "A vision," he said quietly. "A job transfer vision," Lu Yun almost blurted. He'd never heard of such a thing, a vision that could determine a vocation, and the scale of the change terrified him. A chill of apprehension ran down his spine. With a phenomenon like that, it would be absurd not to assign him a rare role. Shishui didn't know whether it would be in support or on the front lines. "Impossible. I won't lose to you," she snapped, clenching her fists. The display she'd just witnessed was far greater than the earlier movement. She didn't want to admit defeat, but based on what she had seen, she had no choice but to yield. Chapter 3. The Skeleton Warrior. Emerging from the clouds. Suddenly someone in class shouted, "Look, something's moving in the dark clouds." Everyone looked up. A small flame drifted out of the thunderhead, hovering and bobbing like a will-o'-the-wisp. It wasn't just fire. A grating, grinding noise came from the clouds that made their teeth ache. A sharp-eyed boy stared, then froze and crumpled to the floor in terror. His cry made the image in the clouds unmistakable. Thousands of skeletons packed together filled the rolling darkness, pale skulls lit from within by ghostly fires. The bones gleamed a sickly white. The sight was savage and unnerving. Even knowing it was only a vision, many students stumbled backward, horrified. One of those soul fires detached from the mass and fell. It streaked through the air and landed squarely on Lin Moyu. At that instant, the visions vanished. The clouds cleared, the lights winked out, and the classroom returned to normal. This is not an ordinary vocation. It is a hidden profession. It was the only hidden profession in existence. In the whole world, there was just one. Unless Lin Moyu died, there would never be a second one exactly like it. Hidden professions were rarer than rare ones, rarer even than legendary classes. Whether that made it powerful was unclear, but its uniqueness was indisputable. Lin Moyu's Necromancer was the sole hidden profession. Lin Moyu must be so strong he got classified as a hidden profession, someone murmured. It's the only hidden profession. Or the magic circle made a mistake, another suggested. How else could a kid get something like that? Hidden professions aren't always powerful, a third voice countered. There have been hidden jobs in the past that weren't particularly good. That's true. Hidden just means rare, not necessarily strong, someone else agreed. But the vision we just saw was terrifying, a spectator said quietly. And his profession is Necromancer. Does that mean he'll be dealing with the dead all the time? He didn't speak during the ritual, another observed. Handling the dead isn't small talk. Maybe that's why he kept silent. Lin Moyu stepped down from the magic circle, having fully awakened his profession. He was secretly thrilled by having such a rare hidden class, but he kept his face calm. Emotions like excitement or anger were for the heart. There was no need to put them on display. Wait a moment. As he passed, Zhang Qian suddenly stopped him. Lin Moyu turned, saluted, and said, "What is your command, senior?" He wasn't mute, he simply spoke little. That didn't stop him from observing proper etiquette. Zhang Qian's eyes lingered on him for a moment. "Your class is hidden. I've never seen it before. Why don't you demonstrate a skill?" Lin Moyu didn't refuse. "Please give me a moment." He had only just changed classes and still needed to get his bearings. He brought up his character sheet to check his stats. Name, Lin Moyu. Occupation, Necromancer, unique. Level 1, 0.0% power. Agility 10, 20, physique 10, equipment none. Summon space 0/10. Skills, Soul Flame, level 1. Summon Skeleton Warrior, level 1. Soul Flame, level 1. Burns the target's soul, inflicting burning damage. Damage scales with the user's spirit and the skill's level. Summon Skeleton Warrior, level 1. Summon a Black Iron Grade Skeleton Warrior. Skeleton ranks run from Black Iron, Bronze, Silver, Gold, Diamond, Legendary to God level. Lin Moyu's mental attribute was higher than the other two, clear evidence of the Necromancer's role as a mage. Her Soul Flame skill reinforced that identity, but Soul Flame itself wasn't something to show off in public. It was better suited to other uses. The Summon Skeleton Warrior skill, by contrast, leaned more toward the summoner side, so she chose to call up a skeleton instead. When she activated the ability, a black vortex spun into being around her, and a skeleton warrior wreathed in flickering soul fire marched out. Her spirit dropped 20 to 10 in an instant, half of it gone. The bones of the black iron skeleton were a dull gray, riddled with cracks. Its blade was battered and corroded, the kind of weapon scavenged from a junk pile. In fact, the whole skeleton looked like it had been pulled straight out of a rubbish heap. The black iron skeleton warrior looked surprisingly fragile, as if it might crumble to pieces at any moment. Lin Moyu took the chance to scan its attributes. Strength, 15. Agility, 15. Spirit, 15. Physique, 15. Skill, none. All four stats were evenly balanced. No particular strength, no glaring weakness. It had no skills and could only rely on basic attacks. Not especially impressive. When the skeleton appeared, the students murmured in alarm and instinctively took a few steps back. Fear of the uncanny made most of them recoil. Only a few, like Gao Yang, stayed put, curiosity written on their faces. Zhang Qian, however, did not hesitate. His fingertips glowed, and a small gust of wind swept from his hand toward the skeleton. The creature's hollow eye sockets flared with red light as the soul fire within it leapt violently. System prompt. Skeleton warrior attacked. Retaliate? Yes, no. A notification suddenly flashed in Lin Moyu's mind. If you don't make a choice within 10 seconds, you will automatically counterattack. He snapped to attention and ordered the skeleton warrior to freeze. Zhang Qian smiled. You're very vigilant. Chapter 4. Have you taken a fancy to our silent language? Zhang Qian was a level 52 specialist in detection. He held up his hand and ran his technique over the skeleton warrior, reading its stats at a glance. The attributes were unremarkable, nothing special. It made sense. Lin Moyu himself was only level 1, so his summon couldn't be expected to be powerful yet. Maybe the skeleton would grow stronger as Lin Moyu leveled up. Zhang Qian waved a hand. Not bad. Keep it up. Maybe you'll get something useful later. Lin Moyu returned the salute. The skeleton fell into step behind him, its bones clicking softly. With each scrape of bone on bone came gusts of unnatural cold that made the air feel thinner, enough to unsettle people. Several students unconsciously moved away. Skeletons were creepy. Gao Yang stepped forward. Can I touch it? Lin Moyu nodded. Gao Yang reached out without hesitation. The bones felt like chilled metal under his fingertips. The flame that burned on the skeleton's head gave off no warmth. In fact, the closer he brought his hand to that eerie fire, the colder it felt. Gao Yang peered at the skeleton and asked, Is this thing strong? Lin Moyu shook his head. It should be better than you. Gao Yang scoffed. Really? I don't buy it. It looks kind of beaten up. Just then, Lu Yun called out to Gao Yang. Gao Yang! Gao Yang waved a hand. I'll go change my class first. We'll talk about it later. After he left, Lin Moyu stared at the skeleton warrior for a moment. Then he thought, recycle. A small vortex opened in front of him. The skeleton vanished into it, and the status bar for his summoning space updated. Where it had read Summoning Space 010, it now showed Summoning Space 110, Skeleton Warrior Quantity 1. Lin Moyu examined the summoning space description more closely. The summoning space is where summoned beings and items are stored. Creatures you don't need all the time can be placed there and brought out whenever necessary. Importantly, calling something from the summoning space does not consume mental power, so once he'd summoned the skeleton warriors and put them into the space, he could retrieve them instantly without any extra effort. Right now, the summoning space held 10 slots, enough for 10 skeleton warriors. Any summoned creature that was injured would recover quickly while inside the space, and the capacity would increase as his level rose. Lin Moyu recalled the image that had flashed before his eyes when he changed class. It was nothing like what others had seen. He'd seen a dragon, enormous, soaring while shrieking in pain. Then it crashed back to the ground, rolling and thrashing. The beast was swarmed by skeleton warriors, thousands of them, hacking at it with wicked blades. Every strike tore open ghastly wounds. No amount of struggling helped, and all the dragon could do was scream. In less than a minute, the great creature toppled with a mournful cry, its former glory utterly gone. That vision made one thing clear to Lin Moyu. When skeleton warriors reach a certain number, even a mighty dragon can be cut down like livestock. Lin Moyu told himself he could get there someday, kill dragons like they were mutts. The job transfer circle flared with brilliant light. Gao Yang's change finished, and the message appeared. Advanced main combat class, Sword and Shield Knight. Gao Yang had really become a knight, just like he'd wanted. Not just a plain knight either, but a high-level one, a Sword and Shield Knight. There was a big difference between a basic knight and an advanced one, otherwise he wouldn't qualify as advanced. Gao Yang came running back, grinning from ear to ear. See, I told you I could be a knight. Lin Moyu smiled, rare for him, and gave a thumbs up. Gao Yang laughed and clapped him on the shoulder. We'll run dungeons together from now on. I'll stand in front of you. Think about how you say that, Lin muttered. Gao tapped his head. If you want to kill me, just step on my corpse. Lin Moyu blinked. He couldn't stand this guy's nonsense and finally said, You said that wrong. Gao looked surprised. You're finally talking. I said it on purpose. The opposite. Didn't you notice? Yeah, right, Lin replied dryly. What a load of nonsense. Deliberately contradicting me? No way. I refuse to accept that. What a joke. Lin Moyu shot Gao Yang a disdainful look. All the transfers were finally done. Lu Yun led them back to the main classroom. This time, 106 students from No. 1 Middle School were reassigned. Lin Moyu was placed in a hidden post. 12 went to the main battle class, 18 to the auxiliary class, and the remaining 76 to the life classes. The distribution was considered good, and Lu Yun was clearly satisfied. Students, the transfer period is over. No matter which profession you choose, you must work hard to level up and improve your skills. Starting tomorrow, the Novice Upgrade Dungeon in Shihai City will be open to all students. You may enter the dungeon to gain real combat experience. Students in life-related professions need not worry. The school has set up a life skills hall where instructors will teach you practical trades. I expect everyone to do well on the big exam in a week. Study hard and aim for admission to the higher education institution of your choice. The announcements made things clear. The Novice Dungeon's monsters ranged from level 1 to level 8, and there weren't many of them. The difficulty was very low. It was far safer than roaming the wilds around Shihai City. Of course, students were free to skip the dungeon and go straight into the wild if they wanted. The risks of life and death would be on them. When school let out, Xiaoshui caught up to Lin Moyu and stopped him. Gao Yang flashed a grin. Miss Xia, what's this? Have you taken a liking to sign language? Xiaoshui scowled. Go away. A phone chimed suddenly. A bright notification flashed on the screen. Dragon Boat Festival reading sale. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Instant top-up. Promotion runs June 22 to 24. Chapter 5. God-level talent, God-level passive, unbeatable. Xiaoqiang Xiaoshui was 1.70 meters tall, with a lithe figure and a delicately small face. Many classmates called her the school beauty. It didn't help that Lin Moyu was even taller. At 1.85 meters, he made Xiaoshui have to look up to meet his eyes. Lin Moyu, I want to compete with you, she announced one day. Lin Moyu looked at her, puzzled. Xiaoshui knew he wasn't one for small talk, so she cut straight to the point. Whoever gets the better score on the final, do you dare to compare? He grunted in agreement and circled around her. Xiaoshui stamped her foot. That's it. I won't lose to you forever. She'd assumed her rare class choice today would give her the edge. To her surprise, Lin Moyu revealed a hidden class of his own. No matter how formidable a necromancer could be on paper, against Lin Moyu, it was obvious she'd lost the advantage. Xiaoshui refused to accept defeat. Later, Lin Moyu went back to his apartment. The place was empty and sparsely furnished. There was almost nothing in the room. He made himself something to eat and glanced around. One item caught his eye, a photograph that stood out among the bare walls. The photograph showed Lin Moyu, a young, beautiful woman, standing beside an old, gray-haired woman. In the picture, Lin Moyu smiled in the sunlight. The expression was warm and full of life, a stark contrast to the person he had become. Both women were laughing then. The photo had been taken 3 years earlier. He had come from another life and inherited the memories and feelings of the original owner, which explained the deep affection he felt for the two people in that picture. In his previous life on Earth, he had been an orphan with no family or roots. Here, at last, he had relatives to care for, people he loved fiercely and protected all the more for having lost so much before. But the happy days didn't last. 2 years ago, his grandmother passed away. A year ago, his sister left to attend Shijing Academy. Now he was the only one left at home. He spoke less and less. His voice had gone colder. I'm going to Shijing Academy too, he told himself firmly. Not for prestige or power, because Lin Mohan was there. The entrance exam to Shijing Academy was notoriously difficult. Last year, Lin Mohan had been the only student from Shihai City to gain admission. A knock sounded at the door. Principal Lu. Lu Yun stood in the doorway with a bag in his hand. Moyu, I brought you some food. Eat first. I'll bring you some fresh stuff in a few days, he added. Lin Moyu took the bag. Thank you. Lu Yun nodded. I'm heading into the dungeon tomorrow, so make sure you get some rest. Over the past year, Lu Yun had been dropping off food every few days. That was the promise he'd made to Lin Mohan. Last year, Lin Mohan had been accepted to Shijing Academy as Shihai City's top student, but he didn't want to go. If he went, he wouldn't be able to come home for at least 3 years, and he didn't want to leave his younger brother, Lin Moyu, alone. Principal Lu Yun kept persuading him and finally agreed to look after Moyu. Only then did Lin Mohan consent to attend the academy. In a place like Shihai, having a student go to Shijing Academy is a great honor, especially for first middle school and for Lu Yun. Lu Yun had kept his word. For the past year, he'd watched out for Lin Moyu, and at night, Moyu devoted himself to training his skills. His mental energy had returned, and he could summon another skeleton warrior whenever he wanted. In his left palm, he held a single bright red gemstone, the only thing he'd brought with him when he crossed over. As he lifted his hand, ready to call a skeleton, a voice suddenly spoke inside his head. Detected. The host has awakened as the Necromancer profession. Requirements met. Binding to the Supreme Talent System initiated. Extracting World Origin Essence and optimizing skills. Skill optimization complete. Congratulations. The host has awakened a unique God-level talent. Comprehensive increase. Level 1. Congratulations. The host has acquired the passive skill. Damage transfer. Lin Moyu froze, then hurriedly checked his attributes. Name, Lin Moyu. Occupation Necromancer, unique. Level 1.00%. Attributes. Power 10, Agility 10, Spirit 20. Equipment none. Summon space, 110, Skeleton Warrior, quantity 1. Talents and skills. Talent, Comprehensive Amplification, level 1, unique. Passive, Damage Transfer. Active skills, Soul Flame, level 1. Summon Skeleton Warrior, level 1. Talent skill descriptions. Comprehensive Amplification, level 1. Multiplies all skill effects by 10. Damage Transfer. All damage that would be inflicted on the caster is absorbed by the summoned entity. Soul Flame level 1. burns the target's soul, dealing continuing burn damage. Damage scales with the caster's spirit and skill level. Summon Skeleton Warrior, level 1, summons a black iron skeleton warrior. His basic stats haven't changed, only a new talent and a passive have appeared. But both are extraordinary. The talent, a unique, god-tier ability even at level 1, increases every skill's effect tenfold. Lin Moyu can't quite find words to describe how powerful that is. Normally impassive, he nevertheless feels a flicker of shock at the sight. The passive skill's effect was staggering, practically godlike. Any damage dealt to him was diverted straight to his summons. In other words, so long as at least one summoned creature remained alive, he himself could not be killed. To eliminate him, you would have to destroy every single summon first. The implication was terrifying. With thousands of summons, he would be virtually immortal. Such a passive was unheard of. It took Lin Moyu a long moment to shake off the shock. He glanced at his left hand and found the ruby was gone. "So it was you," he said, narrow-eyed. He activated his summoning ability. A vortex opened in front of him, and a high-pitched, grinding sound cut through the air. From the dark spiral, a figure stepped out, a black iron-level skeleton, clanking as it moved. On the surface, there was no difference between the black iron skeleton standing before him and the one he'd summoned that afternoon. The shape hadn't changed much, the same crude, scavenged look like the ones pulled out of the junk heaps. But appearances can be deceptive. Power, 150. Agility, 150. Spirit, 150. Physique, 150. Skill, none. Those numbers told the real story. Every attribute had been multiplied tenfold. A tenfold increase in physique didn't just mean a stronger body. It translated directly into far greater vitality and defense. With Lin Moyu's damage transfer ability in play, killing the skeleton would not be nearly as easy as it looked. He released the skeleton into the summoning space to check, and sure enough, its stats there were boosted the same way. The across-the-board increase applied everywhere. With only 10 points of mental power left, Lin Moyu summoned a second black iron skeleton and then sat down to meditate. Meditation was the fastest way to restore mental energy, and for him, it could even stand in for sleep. There were quite a few students at the school who could do the same. The next morning, Lin Moyu woke up on time. His mental strength had fully recovered. 3 black iron skeletons stood vigilantly before him, motionless like sentries. The soul fire pulsing in their skulls sent a cold gust through the room, dropping the temperature by several degrees. He grinned slightly. This was perfect for summer. No need to worry about the heat. He used Summon Skeleton again and materialized a 4th skeleton warrior, then sent all 4 into his summoning space. He kept 10 points of spiritual power in reserve and stored 4 black iron skeletons, each boosted tenfold, in his pocket of summoning energy. That, he decided, was more than enough. With 150 strength, even a level 7 or 8 knight would be no real threat. A bus was already waiting at the school gate to take them to the dungeon instance. When they arrived, the place was packed. It wasn't just students from No. 1 middle school who came to the novice dungeon. Almost every student in Shihai City who had completed their job change showed up here. Shihai City has 6 middle schools. Yesterday, more than 800 students changed their status, most of them becoming active dungeon professionals. Yet fewer than 200 were eligible to come here. Not even a third made the cut. The students clustered together while their teachers went to complete the dungeon admission formalities. "Old Lu, you really outdid yourself this time," one principal said with a grin. "You posted a rare main combat class and even a unique hidden class. That's impressive." "Noba 1 Middle has been on a roll for the past 2 years," another added. "Last year, Lin Mohan got into Xiajing Academy. Are you trying to knock on Xiajing's door again?" Lu Yun's face flushed. "Xiashui and Lin Moyu are both exceptional. If anything can be done, I'd love to see them at Xiajing." "Xiashui, she's the Xia family's eldest daughter, right? And Lin Moyu, that name sounds a lot like Lin Mohan." Lu Yun nodded. "Xiashui is the eldest of the Xia family. Lin Moyu is Lin Mohan's younger brother." "No wonder," someone murmured approvingly. "The Xia family's bloodline really is strong." As for Lin Moyu, these siblings were really something. Gao Yang jabbed him with an elbow. "You want to team up?" Lin Moyu shook his head. Gao Yang put on a mock-offended face. Hey, do you look down on me? This young master is sincerely inviting you. If you don't give me a good reason, I won't let it go. His faux anger couldn't hide the grin in his eyes. Lin Moyu ignored him, and 2 seconds later Gao Yang switched tactics. Boss, how about teaming with me? Leveling in a team is slow, Lin Moyu said coolly. Solo leveling is faster. Gao Yang looked puzzled. How do you know that? Read more books, Lin Moyu replied. He rarely spoke up. Gao Yang rubbed his head, unconvinced. From the side, Xiaxue chimed in. Lin Moyu's right. If 2 people team up, you kill monster. RS faster. But the experience is split between both of you, Xiaxue explained. A 2-person party can increase kill speed by maybe 50 to 60%, but the time it takes to find monsters is fixed, so overall efficiency actually drops. From what veterans have put together, dungeons under level 10 are better for solo grinding. Once you get above level 10, you should be in a team. Xiaxue said it plainly enough that Gao Yang, who wasn't slow on the uptake, immediately understood. Just then, Lu Yun walked over. Listen up, he said. Except for Xiaxue and Lin Moyu, any main combat class has to bring several support classes into a dungeon. Don't expect to level by going it alone. Once you hit harder content, you won't be able to do without healers and buffers. People don't usually carry supports around all the time. They look for them when they need them. You can't rely on magic appearing out of nowhere. So instead of hunting for random helpers you don't know, it's much better to team up with classmates you can trust. At least you'll have a classmate to watch your back. You won't run off alone if danger shows up. Lu Yun's words were sharp and true. They eased the worries of the players who had been planning to go it alone. He explained, if a primary combat class isn't paired with a support, the support's leveling progress will be painfully slow. Someone raised a question. Then why don't Xiaxue and Lin Moyu need supports? Lu Yun cleared his throat. They're different. Xiaxue is about to be admitted to Shijing Academy. She needs to be leveled quickly. She won't stay in the novice dungeon long, at most a day or 2 before she moves on. As for Lin Moyu, I don't know his class or how strong he is. If any support players want to team up with him, feel free to ask. Chapter 7. Let's see who can level up faster. Several of the assistants shook their heads. Most of the trainee nurses were girls, and when they saw Lin Moyu's skeleton warriors, they were terrified and scattered in a panic. Lin Moyu smiled lightly. Mr. Lu, I want to try for Xiajing Academy too. The meaning was clear. He didn't want to join a group. He intended to go it alone. Lu Yun blinked in surprise. Do you know how hard it is to get into Xiajing Academy? I'm confident, Lin Moyu replied. Lu Yun studied him for a moment and nodded. All right, I hope you succeed. But he couldn't help explaining the facts. To get into Xiajing Academy, you had to meet strict level requirements, at least level 12, and your insurance stat had to be 15. Last year, Lin Xiahan had entered Xiajing Academy at level 16, a high bar. Upgrading to level 12 in only 1 week is no small feat. Reaching level 15 is even more unrealistic. The highest monsters in the novice dungeon were level 8, so you couldn't possibly push past level 12 there. And the dangers out in the wild were far greater than anything in the novice dungeon. For novices like them, rushing in headfirst was a fast track to death. Besides the level requirements, there were other conditions they couldn't know until the final test. At Lu Yun's request, several frontline classes had volunteered to provide support, either as individuals or in teams of 2 or 3. Gao Yang picked a prophet to back him up. Prophets could cast buffs and heal, so he'd essentially hired a reliable babysitter. Once the paperwork was done, the academy issued weapons and gear. Each class received equipment suited to its role. Gao Yang swaggered away with an iron sword and a shield, preening like he owned the place and posing, I'm so handsome! Lin Moyu received a staff. Spiritual power Con. It wasn't much, barely any bonus. The school's gear was clearly low grade. They'd just have to make do and act confident. Xiaxue didn't need the issued weapons anyway. She already had her own. Her weapon was a Dharma book. Lin Moyu could feel a subtle spiritual current flowing from it. That meant it was probably a solid weapon. Before they entered the dungeon, Xiaxue turned to Lin Moyu and said, Let's see who can level up faster. Lin Moyu gave a non-committal shrug, neither accepting nor refusing. Xiaxue snorted, lifted her chin and bared the pale line of her throat. "If you don't answer, I'll take that as a yes." With that, she stepped through the portal. The corner of Lin Moyu's mouth twitched. "So competitive," he muttered, then followed her in. The novice dungeon opened onto a wide prairie. Grass brushed up past their knees, more than half a meter high, and smaller monsters crouched low in the tufts, hard to spot. Monster density here was deliberately low. It was safe, but that also meant more time spent searching than actually fighting. The whole point of the novice dungeon was to get new players used to combat. Lin Moyu summoned 4 skeleton warriors. "Go find and kill something," he ordered. The skeletons sprang into the grass in 4 directions, their bony feet clicking against the ground. Click, click, click. They tore through the prairie so fast the air seemed to part around them. With an agility stat of 150, the skeletons were exceptionally quick. In the blink of an eye, he'd already covered tens of meters. A summoned skeleton warrior raised the broken sword in its hand and struck. Successfully killed Darmian. Experience. The level 1 big-eared rabbit, Darmian, was cut down instantly. Lin Moyu glanced at the experience readout, plus 1%. Each level 1 creature granted 1% experience. 100 of them would be enough to level up. Successfully killed Darmian. Experience 10. Successfully killed Damian. Experience 10. The notifications kept flashing as the 4 skeleton warriors hunted down every big-eared rabbit they found. In just a few minutes, Lin Moyu's experience rose by 10%, far more efficient than he'd expected. He had originally planned to spend 2 days in Tiu, he novice dungeon, and leave after reaching level 8, but it was already clear he wouldn't need that long. He activated his summoning skill again and called forth another skeleton warrior, this one black iron grade. The new skeleton joined the others, and they continued sweeping the area for monsters. Lin Moyu sat down to meditate and recover. Half an hour later, the system chimed. He'd reached his first level up. Lin Moyu stared at the status readout that had just appeared before him. Name, Lin Moyu. Occupation, Necromancer. Unique. Level 210%. Strength 20. Agility, Spirit, Equipment, none. Summon space, 520. Skeleton Warrior, half 5. Talents and skills were listed below. Talent, Comprehensive Amplification. Level 1. Unique. All skill effects are multiplied tenfold. Passive, Damage Transfer. Any damage the Necromancer would suffer is borne by a summoned unit. Active, Soul Flame. Level 2. Burns the target's soul, dealing ongoing burning damage scaled by the caster's spirit and skill level. Active, Summon Skeleton Warrior. Level 2. Summons a black iron skeleton warrior. His level had increased, and the numbers had adjusted accordingly. The summon space had doubled. It had changed from 10 to 20, enough capacity for 20 summons. And the summon skills had risen with him. Lin Moyu tilted his head, thinking, I wonder if the black iron skeleton's stats increased at level 2. From everything he knew, skill level-ups boosted the attributes of summoned creatures, so it was likely their combat effectiveness had improved as well. The upgrade had fully restored his mental energy. Lin Moyu tapped into his powers and summoned another black iron skeleton warrior. This time, he noticed a change. Level 2 abilities now consumed more mental power. The summon cost had jumped from 10 points to 15. The skeleton itself was still a level 2 black iron unit, but it looked noticeably improved. Its dark, ashen surface had brightened by a few shades, the dull gray was much less pronounced, and the cracks that ran along its bones were fewer and finer. Black Iron Skeleton Warrior Power, 250. Agility, 250. Spirit, 250. Physique, 50. Skill, none. Chapter 8. Psychic Attacks That Ignore Defense. The Level 2 Skeleton Warrior's stats had all jumped by 100 points compared to Level 1. Every attribute had gone straight from 150 to 250. Lin Moyu knew that jump wasn't the normal result of level progression. Under ordinary rules, a level 2 skeleton would only get a small bump. Each attribute might increase by around 10 points when leveling, or perhaps a modest 25 points at most, depending on the template. In other words, you'd expect a total increase of only a few dozen points across the 4 primary stats. This 100-point surge was far beyond that. The difference came down to talent. Lin Moyu's talent was absurdly powerful, god tier, and it amplified the skeletons far beyond standard scaling. That talent was perfectly suited to the Necromancer class, so the summoned minions benefited enormously. He kept summoning. Soon, he had 7 skeleton warriors patrolling the novice dungeon like 7 hired enforcers. They fanned out and mowed down everything in sight. Level 1, Level 2, even Level 3 monsters didn't stand a chance. Under the rattle of their cracked swords, they died instantly and without exception. Their base attributes were so high that even without casting any additional skills, the skeletons hit incredibly hard. The 250 points in strength shouldn't be much worse than a level 10 fighter. A level 2 skeleton warrior whose attack power rivals a level 10 fighter, yet can still wander freely through the novice dungeon. And there weren't just 1 or 2 of them. 7 skeletons marched out. No, 7 was only the start. Once Lin Moyu recovered enough mental energy, he could keep summoning more. Killed, level 2 Grey Cat. Killed, level 3 Brown Dog. Experience 30. Killed, level 4 Blue-Eyed Mouse King. They were all one-hit kills. There was no suspense, no struggle. Beasts that were supposed to be level 3 or 4 were being cut down by attacks comparable to level 10. Lin Moyu followed the trail the skeletons left and walked slowly after them. As the skeletons pushed farther into the dungeon, an outline of the secret realm began to form in his mind. "Wait, there's a function for that?" he muttered. Where the skeletons trod, a map was being drawn automatically. In addition to slaughtering monsters, they were acting as fully automatic scouts, mapping the dungeon for him. After only an hour of letting them loose, his experience bar was nearly full again. He was moments away from another level up. Lin Moyu had even stopped meditating, with his levels restoring his mental power automatically on every upgrade. Meditation felt unnecessary. Around him, the skeleton warriors stabbed and hacked with brutal efficiency, cutting down anything that crossed their path. One unlucky creature had been completely overlooked by the skeletons, a level 2 gray-haired cat curled up in the grass. Lin Moyu smirked. Lucky little thing. He let a cyan flame flicker into being on the palm of his hand. Soul Flame, his only offensive skill for the moment. The blue fire flashed across the distance like a teleport, striking the gray cat. The creature let out a shriek, twitched twice, and collapsed, dead. With his attack effectively multiplied tenfold, it barely lasted a few seconds. Kill a level 2 gray cat, experience 20. The cat showed no outward burns or scorch marks. Lin Moyu nodded as understanding clicked into place. Just as the skill description had said, Soul Flame struck at the target's soul. It was a spiritual attack. He felt a fresh jolt of astonishment at the power of his ability. Spiritual attacks have one thing in common: they ignore defense. No matter how high your physical or elemental resistances are, you can't block a spiritual assault. The hidden class really is broken, Lin Moyu thought, and it only has 2 active skills, but they're both insanely strong. Even without any talent bonuses, a Necromancer can stand toe-to-toe with a legendary class. A beam of light shot from his body as he leveled up. All his attributes rose by another 10 points, and his mental power jumped by 20. His Skeleton Warrior skill upgraded to level 3. The mysterious 4-dimensional attribute picked up another 10 points and, with an additional bulk increase, climbed a full 100 points, bringing it to an astonishing 350. Without hesitation, Lin Moyu used Summon Skeletons again. 3 more skeleton warriors appeared in quick succession, bringing the total in the dungeon to 10. The 10 skeletons tore through the instance like a cleanup crew, sweeping away the remaining threats. Kill the level 4 Blue-Eyed Mouse King, experience 40. Kill level 5 Blue Wolf, experience 50. The skeleton warriors were cutting through the dungeon monsters with terrifying efficiency. Even level 5 enemies were being one-shotted. Lin Moyu didn't have to lift a finger. He only had to stand by and watch the experience numbers roll in. At that rate, he could level up again in, at most, 2 hours. For the others, reaching level 3 on the first day was already a decent result. After that, progress was bound to slow down. Lu Yun had set a tough target. Students had to hit level 8 within a week to qualify for admission to institutions of higher learning. If anyone hoped to get into one of the nation's top 50 universities, they would need level 9 or even level 10. Outside the dungeon, a group of school principals had gathered, cups of tea in hand, and were gossiping unabashedly. I wonder how many levels these kids will get on day one, one of them mused. Who remembers what the previous high score was? Another asked. I think it was level 5. Su Chanxing got it once, and Lin Mohan did last year, someone answered. Both Su Chanxing and Lin Mohan were rare classes, a third added. This year's Xiaxue class is rare too. They should be similar, someone murmured. From how fast they leveled on day 1, you can pretty much judge how they'll rank over the next few days, another added. If the girl Xiaxue doesn't hit level 5 on that first day, it's going to be hard for her to get into Xiajing Academy. Lu Yun listened to the conversation and wondered inwardly, how many levels can Lin Moyu climb while hiding his profession? It shouldn't be bad. He reminded himself that after level 5, the pace of leveling drops off sharply. When they talked about the first day, they really meant 12 hours. Once everyone enters the dungeon, a 12-hour countdown begins, and they'll be forced out when it expires. What matters is how many levels you can gain in those 12 hours. Suddenly, a system announcement blared across the area. Dragon Boat Festival Reading Special. Recharge 100 and receive 500 VIP coupons. Recharge now. Event runs June 27 to 4. Chapter 9. Faster and faster upgrade speed. Lu Yun waved to the man who had just entered. Patriarch Xia, please have a seat. Xia Dongyang, the head of the Xia family in Shihai City and Xiaxue's father, sat down without much ceremony. Hello, principals, he greeted after settling in. He carried a stern, unyielding air, more proud than angry. Lu Yun poured him a cup of tea. Patriarch Xia came to see Xiaxue, I take it. Xia Dongyang smiled faintly. Over the past few years, Xiaxue has been under Principal Lu's care. Lu Yun waved the compliment away. I barely did anything. Xiaxue is clever, and the transfer went smoothly because of her. I heard from my relatives, Xia Dongyang said. I only returned to Shihai today and, unfortunately, missed the actual job change. Lu Yun nodded. We were just talking about whether Xiaxue can reach level 5 by the end of today's 12-hour dungeon. She wants to get into Xiajing Academy, Xia Dongyang said. That's not an easy thing. It shouldn't be impossible, Lu Yun replied. Even if it's a long shot, I could ask around. Xia Dongyang waved a hand. I'd advise against that. I know Xiaxue. If you interfere, she'll resent you for it. Lu Yun nodded, understanding. Xia Dongyang changed the subject. I heard you changed professions yesterday. You found a hidden class, didn't you? Congratulations. What is it? Lu Yun brightened. Necromancer. I've never seen that one before. It summons skeletons. I don't know how strong it is yet. Xia Dongyang frowned. Hidden jobs weren't always impressive. Some were downright useless. Summoning skeletons sounded creepy, and the name Necromancer didn't help. Dealing with the dead tends to make people's imaginations run wild. Lu Yun read his expression and smiled. Don't worry. Moyu doesn't say much, but he's a good kid. His sister was admitted to Xiajing Academy last year. If Xiaxue also goes to Xiajing Academy, you might be able to ask Lin Moyu to look out for her. Hearing Lu Yun say that, Xia Dongyang finally relaxed. He'd known Lu Yun for years and trusted her judgment. Back in the novice dungeon, Lin Moyu's HUD flashed a message from one of the skeleton warriors. Maximum distance reached, cannot move any farther away. The leading skeleton was already 500 meters out and had stopped. Lin Moyu understood the constraint. The summoned skeletons could not stray more than 500 meters from him. Seeing the others closing in on that limit one after another, he had no choice but to order them to fall back. He couldn't just abandon control and stand there uselessly, so he picked a direction and pushed deeper into the dungeon. 10 skeletons fanned out before him, each keeping roughly 100 meters apart from him and from one another. Any monsters that crossed their path would be cut down instantly by the skeletal vanguard. By the 4th hour inside the dungeon, Lin Moyu reached his 3rd level up. Name, occupation, Necromancer, unique, level 4, 0%, power, 40, agility, 40, spirit, 8 equipment, none. Summon space, 1040, skeleton warrior ties 10. Talent, comprehensive amplification, level 1, unique. Passive skill, damage transfer. Active skills, soul flame, 4. Summon skeleton warrior, all 4. After the upgrade, Lin Moyu kept summoning skeleton warriors. The spiritual power cost per skeleton had climbed to 25 points, but that didn't slow him down. If anything, the steady growth of his undead hosts sped his advancement. In just 4 hours, he'd gained 3 levels, and the more skeletons he raised, the faster he progressed. With his 10-strong skeleton army at his back, Lin Moyu pushed into the second half of the novice dungeon. Packs of level 5 and level 6 monsters swarmed in the corridors ahead, but they were helpless against his warriors. Each skeleton now boasted a strength attribute of around 450. A single stroke from one of them was enough to cleave through those foes. The enemies fell in quick succession as Lin Moyu's undead line carved a path deeper into the dungeon. Kill level 5, Blue Wall. F. Experience 50. Kill level 6, Black Panther. Experience D. For Lin Moyu, killing a level 1 monster was just as efficient as killing a level 6, so higher level monsters were better, and monsters packed densely were even better. He summoned 3 more skeleton warriors. Now 13 skeletons raged through the novice dungeon. Experience poured in faster and faster. The more skeletons there were, the quicker his level climbed. At this rate, I'll level up again in under an hour, he muttered. If this kept up, could he reach level 8 within 12 hours of his first day in the novice dungeon? It was moving twice as fast as he'd expected. Once he hit level 8, he could head to the outskirts of Shihai City. There were higher-level monsters out there. He already had his upgrade route planned. Leaving for the outskirts required permission from his academy. City guards wouldn't let him pass without it. Level 8 was the minimum standard. There was no getting around that. Kill a level 7 brown bear. Experience 70. As Lin Moyu pushed deeper into the novice dungeon, level 7 monsters began to appear. Enemies he could still fell with a single strike. The novice instance had been created for newcomers. Monster strength was low, the layout was simple, and it felt far safer than wandering in the wild. Even so, he didn't let his guard down. He'd seen what complacency could cost. He remembered Lin Mohan returning from the outskirts of Shihai City, bloodied and shaken. She had warned him sternly then. Never take any opponent lightly. Even a rabbit will fight like a lion when it's cornered. Lin Moyu had kept that warning close ever since, and he followed it now as he moved forward. Chapter 10. No one can level up faster than me. Level 4, 99%. Lin Moyu glanced at his stats and prepared to level up again. 13 skeleton warriors swarmed around him, cutting down enemies in a steady, efficient rhythm, and his experience bar climbed without pause. Compared with the last time, this rise was faster. It only took about 50 minutes. The number of skeletons has increased, the monster density has gone up, and our kill speed hasn't dropped, he muttered, running through the reasons in his head. He'd pushed into the deeper reaches of the novice dungeon, where level 6 and 7 monsters swarmed. Level 8s still hadn't appeared. The heavier concentration of foes was driving his experience gain higher. His skeletons were like tireless champions, one after another stripping life from their targets. The only downside was that the monsters here didn't drop loot. This was a novice dungeon, meant to get new classes used to actual combat, not a wilderness teeming with valuables. In the beginner dungeon, almost every monster is nerfed, muted down so new players can learn without being crushed. The exception here are the level 8 monsters. Those aren't weakened at all. They match the strength of their wild counterparts. By the time you reach level 8, you should have enough combat experience to handle that difficulty, and the novice dungeon ends there anyway. The level 8 foes are just a stepping stone, a way for beginners to get a taste of true wild monster strength, so they won't be caught off guard when they finally head out into the open world. The familiar beam of lashed again. Lin Moyu had reached level 5. His attributes rose, his skills improved, and his summoned skeletons grew stronger too. Their stats each jumped another 100 points. Kill a level 7 brown bear, experience plus 70. Kill a level 7 brown bear, experience 70. The skeletons didn't pause for Lin Moyu's level up. They kept hunting relentlessly, dispatching monsters in seconds with knives flashing. From the moment Lin Moyu entered the dungeon, his skeletons had not stopped. Hey, the rate of leveling just slowed down. Lin Moyu frowned. He'd noticed it the moment he hit level 5. The experience gains had dropped sharply. When he was level 4, killing a level 7 brown bear gave about 0.2% experience, so 500 kills would get him a level. Now, at level 5, that same bear gave only around 0.1%, meaning 1,000 kills to level up. The grind had effectively doubled. At this pace, it's going to be almost impossible for a normal player to reach level 12 in a week, he muttered. Even leaving the dungeon and heading to the outskirts of Shihai wouldn't buy him enough time, he realized. Getting into Xiajing Academy was hard enough as it was. He still didn't understand how his sister had managed to reach level 16 last year. He worked the numbers in his head. If he wanted to qualify for the Xiajing Academy entrance exam, he needed to be at least level 12. To make that in 7 days, the only feasible plan was to rush through the novice dungeon and hit level 8 within the first 3 days. After that, he'd have to go out to the Shihai outskirts and hunt higher-level monsters to make up the rest. Only by combining the faster early dungeon gains with tougher prey outside could he hope to reach level 12 in a week. Thinking it over, Lin Moyu realized how fast he'd been progressing. He'd been leveling up astonishingly quickly. He released his summoning skill, draining the last of his spiritual energy to call 3 more skeleton warriors. 16 skeletons now patrolled around him, constantly hunting and slaughtering whatever monsters they found. At this point, finding monsters was taking far longer than killing them. To reach the next rank, he still needed to clear over 1,000 elite monsters, but with 16 skeletons doing the fighting, that wasn't a huge burden. If the spawn rate stayed steady, he figured he could reach level 6 in at most an hour. There was no reason for him to rush into combat himself. He pressed on while his skeletons scouted, forcing out any beasts hiding in the tall grass. After a while, the terrain shifted, the prairie ended, and a forest rose up before him. Lin Moyu knew this marked the boundary of the novice dungeon. Deeper in the woods, the monsters were stronger. Level 8 creatures lurked among the trees. It had taken Lin Moyu 6 hours and 42 minutes to clear the dungeon, under 7 hours. The dungeon had only been open that long, and he was pretty sure he was the only person who'd reached the end. Most players were probably still only around level 3. Even Xia Shui couldn't be much higher than level 4. Lin Moyu believed he could level faster than anyone else, so he kept walking toward the woods to test something. He wanted to see how strong the level 8 monsters were at full strength, without any debuffs from the dungeon. He also wanted to find out whether his skeleton warrior could handle them on its own. It was good practice. He needed to be ready for a trip into the wild tomorrow. The skeleton warrior moved ahead, opening the way, its bony feet crunching over undergrowth as it slipped into the trees a step before him. The forest answered with a dry, clicking chorus. Several more skeletons fanned out and ran through the brush, searching for prey. They found nothing. That bothered Lin Moyu. He followed them deeper into the woods, scanning for signs of the level 8 beasts. As he stepped under a low, tangled branch, something lashed out with terrifying speed. A long limb swung like a whip and cracked across his path so fast he didn't have time to react. The branch struck with a force that looked like it should have hurt, but it left him unscathed. Lin Moyu didn't feel a thing. It was as if an invisible shield surrounded him, protecting his body. Passive skill, damage transfer. Any harm that would befall him was automatically redirected to his summons. He could not be injured so long as those summoned beings remained alive. It was a truly divine ability, scarcely inferior to a god-tier talent. Chapter 11. Kill all and come out. Lin Moyu could see the owner of the swaying branch clearly now, a tree-like creature roughly 3 meters tall. His fingertips flashed as he activated a detection skill, a basic, widely known technique that reveals fundamental information about nearby entities. Long whip tree. Description: usually dormant, will attack passing life forms. He frowned. That explained something he'd noticed earlier. The skeleton warriors hadn't set the tree off when they ran past. Skeletons aren't truly alive. They have no breath, no life force for the tree to sense, so the whip tree ignored them. But when Lin Moyu himself stepped into range, it reacted. The long branches whipped toward him repeatedly. The strikes didn't seem to be doing any real damage, but Lin Moyu wasn't about to stand there and be pelted for the sake of curiosity. He backed away quickly, putting dozens of meters between himself and the tree until he was well outside its reach. The tree didn't follow. Its branches continued to sway as if on guard. He allowed himself a brief smile. Thoughtful design, he thought. The dungeon's traps and monsters were calibrated to target living intruders while leaving undead minions undisturbed. Someone had planned this area with care. The novice dungeon's monsters ranged from greatly weakened low-level creatures to level 8 foes that matched the strength of the outside world. For the level 8 encounters, the designers deliberately chose a plant-type enemy, the long whip tree. It has a sneak attack trait that lets beginners experience the real dangers of the wild early, but it cannot move. Because it's immobile, it can't chase down or corner newcomers. If things go wrong, novices can retreat calmly out of its reach. The long whip tree's attack range was set to match that of several long-range professions too, preventing sniping exploits by remote classes. In short, the encounter was engineered so novices could face a genuine level 8 threat in a controlled, safe environment. The whole novice dungeon had an atmosphere of protection and training, minimize casualties while giving newcomers real combat exposure so they could adapt and grow. Skeletal warriors skittered back into formation, their jawbones clicking and chattering. 16 of them arrayed themselves around Lin Moyu like a small army, standing guard. At Lin Moyu's command, a skeleton warrior surged forward and attacked the whip tree. At first, the tree didn't react. After all, the skeleton was not alive. But the moment the bony hand struck it with a great knife, the whip tree retaliated. A massive branch lashed out like a leather whip, the impact ringing with a metallic clang. The tree's strikes came with terrifying speed. Its branches whipped and danced, landing 3 or 4 blows a second. Still, the skeleton's stats were formidable. A physique rating of 550, enormous health, and thick defenses. The blows left hairline fractures in the bones, but they healed almost as quickly as they appeared. Huh, didn't drop it in one hit, Lin Moyu said, surprised. Monsters from level 1 to 7 had been killed outright with a single strike. Level 8, apparently, was different. For the first time, his summoned warrior had failed to finish its target instantly. He smirked. So this is the power of a wild monster. Let's see how many cuts you can take. The skeleton raised its knife and came in again. 1 slash, 2, 3, and kept cutting. After 4 strikes, the long whip tree finally stopped moving. A system message flashed. Kill level 8 long whip tree. Experience plus 160. Seeing the number, Lin Moyu did a quick mental calculation. Compared to the level 7 brown bear he'd fought earlier, this wasn't as efficient. The brown bear had only taken 1 swing and given 70 XP. The level 8 tree had taken him 4 hits for 160 XP, more total XP, but less XP per swing. By that measure, the level 7 monsters were better value. But efficiency wasn't just about hits. There was also the time spent finding targets. If he wasted all his time hunting down low-level monsters, it wouldn't be worth it. He scanned the forest ahead and realized he didn't have to look far. The trees were thick, and almost all of them were level 8 long whip trees. With a trained eye, he could pick them out from ordinary trees, and there were hundreds stretching as far as he could see. That changed the math. With so many of them clustered together, his kill rate would be far higher. This was a goldmine for leveling. Even Lin Moyu couldn't help feeling a little excited. At my thought, the skeleton warriors broke apart and streaked toward the surrounding groves. Each one lashed out at the whip trees with the knives in their hands, 4 strikes apiece, steady and unrelenting. Experience streaked upward again. Normally progress slows dramatically after level 5, but mine was suddenly accelerating. What I'd expected to take over an hour finished in under 50 minutes. I reached level 6. Outside the dungeon, the sky was darkening. It was already 7 in the evening. 10 full hours had passed since I entered at 9 that morning. Lu Yun, the deans, and Xia Dongyang still hadn't left their posts. They'd already had their tea for the day. More was brought to them as they waited, but they stayed put. A few of the school heads always do this the first day students enter the novice dungeon. Accidents are rare, but you can't rule them out. It's real combat. Injuries are inevitable, and there have even been students who didn't make it out. Shidongyang, like the others, refused to go. Shishui was still in the dungeon, and her father couldn't stop worrying. He'd already missed her class change ceremony. He didn't want to miss her first real dungeon run as well. Suddenly, a brilliant light burst from the dungeon entrance. Everyone inside craned their necks to look up. "Someone's coming out," someone muttered. "It's not supposed to be time yet," another voice said. "Something must have gone wrong." The dungeon had two exits. One led out from its deepest chamber, opening into the forest beyond where level 8 monsters prowled. The other was the same place you entered, an exit you could use to leave near the surface. Lin Moyu stepped forward out of the light. Lu Yun hurried over. "Moyu, why are you coming out?" Lin Moyu answered softly, almost expressionless. "You only come out if you kill them all." Lu Yun blinked, confused. Lin Moyu's calm made it hard to tell whether he was joking or serious. Then Lu Yun noticed Lin Moyu's status. Lin Moyu, Necromancer, level 7. Chapter 12. Breaking the highest record in history. Lu Yun stood frozen, disbelief etched on his face. "You reached level 7? He managed finally. Even his tone betrayed his doubt. Shock had him rooted to the spot. It took a long moment before he could think straight. This had never happened before. The previous highest record had been only level 5, and now Lin Moyu had pushed the dungeon record to level 7. He'd done it in just 10 hours. There simply weren't enough monsters left, someone observed. If there'd been more, he might have hit level 8. Casually, Lin Moyu said, "Miss Lu, I'd like to apply to go to the outskirts of Shihai City," and submitted his request to leave the city. No one had expected a day when every monster in a dungeon would be killed within the reset window. Each time a player re-enters an instance, the monsters inside are supposed to reset, so clearing an entire dungeon in under 12 hours was unheard of. Besides, this was a novice dungeon, populated by inexperienced players with limited skills and low combat power. The monsters on the deepest layer, level 8, were not weak. They were about as tough as the creatures roaming the wilds. That was why what Lin Moyu had just done stunned everyone so completely. But Lin Moyu did it, and in under 10 hours. He'd completely broken the rules and smashed the record. Lu Yun thought it over and over, but he couldn't make sense of it. He sat there stunned. "Teacher Lu?" Lin Moyu called again, waving a hand in front of his face. It took a moment, but Lu Yun finally snapped back to reality. He kept repeating, Okay, I agree. I'll give you the exit permit. Rest for a bit first, wait until the other students come out, and then we'll arrange your escort," he added. Lin Moyu had proven his strength with actions, and he'd earned the permit to leave the city. His plan could proceed. Lu Yun returned to the table, and the other heads watched him with curious expressions. "Old Lu, what happened just now?" one of them asked. "Why did that student come out so early? Is he hurt?" "Yeah, he wasn't alone, was he? Where are his teammates?" Lu Yun downed 3 cups of tea and took 2 steadying breaths before answering. "He's Lin Moyu. He cleared the novice dungeon and killed every level 8 monster." A stunned hush fell over the room. Even Xia Dongyang, who'd seen his share of chaos and surprises, was taken aback. They realized Lin Moyu was already at level 7. Just the bare fact that he had jumped from level 1 to level 7 in 10 hours was astonishing. The fact that he could clear all the level 8 monsters in the dungeon only underscored how powerful he was. "The hidden profession really is something," Xia Dongyang murmured, sounding both impressed and a little uneasy. It was the only explanation that made sense. Lin Moyu's class must be exceptionally strong. By that reckoning, the Necromancer should top the rare classes we know and might even be on par with the legendary ones, another voice said. "I don't know how strong the legendary classes actually are. We've never seen one," someone else replied. "But we have seen rare classes, and they don't perform like this. Whether it stays this strong as he levels up is another question," another added. "Look at Xia Shui's newly awakened elemental mage. At first it wasn't much different from other mage types. Early power can be misleading. If you can get the passive element enhancement, it can rival a legendary class." The older heads all nodded. They were seasoned enough to know that you couldn't judge a profession by its early performance alone. Some classes are dominant at low levels and fall off later. Others start weak and only come into their own after you level up. Talent and skills make a huge difference too. 2 people with the same class can end up worlds apart. With hundreds of professions, there's every possible variation. It isn't something you can sum up in a single sentence. Lu Yun glanced toward Lin Moyu, who was meditating a short distance away, and felt a flicker of hope. At least for now, in Moyu's Necromancer, is very strong. If he keeps this up, we won't have to worry about him later. If he gets into Xiejing Academy, Xia Dongyang said, then that's Xiejing's problem to deal with. He's always been competitive, Xia Dongyang added of Xiaoshui. She'll take this hard. Lu Yun couldn't help laughing. Not just this time. You're away from home far too often. For the past few years, Lin Moyu had quietly been outscoring Xia Shui. Xia Shui, who had held the second rank for 3 years, felt the sting of it every day. Xia Dongyang only smiled wryly. He knew his daughter's temper well. The more he argued, the angrier she became. So he said nothing. Silence was easier than trying to soothe her pride. Meanwhile, Lin Moyu had used meditation to restore his spiritual power. His skeleton warrior count had climbed to 24, but the summoning space could hold 70, barely a third full. He still had a long way to go before he could occupy the rest of the slots. At 9 o'clock, the dungeon session ended. The 12-hour trial had finally run its course, and the students who had entered were successively teleported back out. They came out exhausted but buzzing. Nothing taught in a classroom matched the rush of real combat. Many wore stains of blood on their clothes, and the metallic tang hung heavy in the air. A gust of wind and a teacher's cleansing technique was enough to dissipate the worst of it. The tutors from each school moved briskly, corralling their students, taking roll calls, and accounting for every face. After 12 hours of fighting, the exhaustion showed, but so did a rare, fierce excitement, the kind that only a true test of skill could leave behind. We checked everyone for injuries and treated what needed attention. After some brisk work, the results looked good. No one was seriously hurt. Most people had leveled up to rank 3, and a few of the stronger ones had already made rank 4. Xia Shui was beaming. After a full day's fighting, she'd reached rank 5, tying the novice dungeon's highest record. I won't lose this time, she promised, still buzzing with excitement. The highest record is rank 5, and I've tied it. Where did he go? I asked. When we came out, I couldn't find Lin Moyu among the group. Scanning the area, I finally spotted him sitting some distance away, deep in meditation. When did he come out? Someone murmured. Then my eyes widened and my body went cold, as if I'd been struck. He was different, his presence, his aura, and the gauge hovering above him showed rank 7. How is that possible? How did he reach rank 7? I couldn't move. Chapter 13, Shenxia Empire Exchange. Xiao Shui. The call from Xia Dongyang pulled Xia Shui back to herself. Dad, what are you doing here? She asked, hurrying to him. For once she sounded obedient instead of proud. Xia Dongyang's face softened with fatherly affection. Come on, let's go home. He had come by car, so she didn't have to take the shuttle back. Xia Shui climbed in beside him, but she couldn't stop stealing glances at Lin Moyu. She wanted to figure him out. How on earth had he reached level 7? Xia Dongyang noticed her staring and chuckled. Are you still hung up on Lin Moyu? She felt her spirits deflate. Yeah, I lost again. He's impossible. Want your old man to handle it for you? Xia Dongyang teased. Don't. Xia Shui cut him off before he could finish. She refused outright. This is my problem. I'll fix it myself. I'm not going to lose to that idiot forever. Her eyes burned with a rekindled fighting spirit. Xia Dongyang only laughed and smiled indulgently. Fine then. Dad will stay out of it. But Dad says Lin Moyu cleared the novice dungeon in 10 hours, Xia Dongyang said. He wiped out every level 8 monster and came out 2 hours before you did. Xia Shui froze. Killed every level 8 monster? She had only just reached the zone with level 7 creatures. She hadn't even seen a level 8 yet. At level 5, she could already one-shot a level 7 enemy, and had thought that was impressive. The idea that Lin Moyu had mopped up an entire area full of level 8s and finished the dungeon earlier than she did was startling. If there had been a few more level 8 monsters, he might have leveled up to 8 himself. Is the gap between us really that big? She muttered. Pride wouldn't let her admit defeat, but she couldn't hide her frustration. Xia Dongyang smiled gently. Every class has its own strengths. Some are strong early on, others don't hit their stride until later. Winning or losing right now doesn't mean much in the long run. Compared to him, you do have an edge. Xia Shui thought about what he meant. Her advantage wasn't combat prowess. It was her family name, the money, the resources she could draw on. That, for now, was the real strength she had. In a world full of props, equipment, and skills, there was never any shortage of things to give you an edge. For someone like Lin Moyu, who had neither money nor influence, those things were exactly what she would be missing. Still, she refused to give up. "I won't admit defeat," she told herself. "Even if you're ahead now, I'll surpass you later." Xia Shui had been down for a couple of minutes, but the spark in her eyes came back just as quickly. Xia Dongyang watched his daughter with obvious pride. "That's my girl," he thought. This was exactly how she should be. On the school bus, Gao Yang made a point of sitting next to Xia Dongyang and showing off. "I'm already level 4, he bragged loudly. "It's so fun teaming up with my sister to fight monsters, way better than going it alone." Lin Moyu glanced at him. Where wouldn't he be happy, she thought, and then Gao Yang's voice rose again, this time in genuine surprise. "Wait, didn't notice before. You're level 7? How did you level up so fast? Have you cleared all the monsters in the dungeon?" Another kid chimed in. "I worked so hard to hit level 4. You're level 7 already? Are you some kind of fairy?" Gao Yang's voice carried across the bus. Everyone fell silent and turned to look. Most kids were around level 3. Level 4 was considered impressive. Lin Moyu had already reached level 7. The realization rippled through the bus. She was far ahead of everyone else. The bus suddenly buzzed with life. Even though most of the students were still spooked by Lin Moyu and the skeleton warriors he summoned, the other, more ordinary instinct kicked in. People wanted to be near someone powerful. A few classmates edged closer, hoping to start a conversation, but Lin Moyu's silence and the ghastly sight of the skeletons kept them frozen. "Quiet," Lu Yun hissed, and the chatter died almost instantly. Gao Yang rubbed his head, sheepish. "I got too excited earlier. Boss, can you take me to level up?" Lin Moyu shrugged once and said quietly, "If I get the chance." Gao Yang's face lit up. "Then it's settled." The next morning, Gao Yang waited at the school gate, but there was no sign of Lin Moyu. "Mr. Lu, where did Lin Moyu go? Is he late?" Lu Yun shook his head. "He left for the suburbs of Shihai City." Only then did Gao Yang realize he'd been played. No wonder Lin Moyu had sounded so non-committal the day before. He let out a theatrical wail. "Lin Moyu, you tricked me." He paused, drama dripping from his words. "I set my hopes on the bright moon, and the bright moon fell into the gutter. I can't deal with this. I want to fight you." Lin Moyu had already driven to the south side of Shihai City. A tall city wall cut a line across the landscape, marking the boundary between the human quarter and the monster territory. Outside that wall lay the wildlands, where even the weakest creatures were level 10, much stronger than the monsters in the beginner dungeons. The trade-off was worth it. Fighting here granted far more experience and yielded useful materials. With a bit of luck, monsters even dropped weapons and armor. Those items could be kept or sold. Shops crowded both sides of the road at the gate. Blacksmiths, weaponsmiths, jewelers, armorers, and more. The most important establishment was the Shengxia Empire Exchange. Run officially by the Shengxia Empire and present in cities large and small across the land, the exchange let adventurers freely buy and sell equipment, materials, and other goods. Items could be sold directly to the exchange or put on consignment there. This was Lin Moyu's first time inside the exchange. Until now, he had only read about it in books. The Shengxia Empire Exchange lived up to its reputation. Hundreds of stone pillars rose to about waist height, each topped with an inlaid magic crystal. Every service the exchange offered ran through those crystals, the pinnacle of god-level alchemical craftsmanship. He found an empty station and laid his palm on the crystal. A prompt blinked to life beneath his touch. Start authentication. Authentication successful. Lin Moyu, success granted to Shengxia Empire Exchange. Permission level, a system notification followed, bright and oddly promotional. Dragon Boat Festival reading promotion. Recharge 100 and receive 500 VIP coupons. Top up now. Event period, June 22 to 24. Chapter 14, Two Worlds, Inside and Outside the City. The Shengxia Empire Exchange was reserved for citizens of the Shengxia Empire. Lin Moyu had permission to use it, but it was only the most basic access, level 1. To gain greater privileges, he would have to increase his contribution to the empire. That was a future problem. For now, it scarcely mattered. He skimmed the exchange listings, weapons, armor, jewelry, crafting materials, everything a city dweller might want. Everything, however, came with a price. Lin Moyu counted his coins. There was barely 100 gold. That wouldn't buy him the cheapest black iron weapon, let alone the bronze or silver-grade arms on display. He made a note of the values for a few low-level materials he could actually sell later and moved on. Next, he checked the available tasks. The monsters roaming the suburbs of Shihai City were clustered between levels 10 and 20, definitely low-level territory. There weren't many combat quests. Most were simple material collection tasks. One listing caught his eye. Unlimited recycling of green sprout grass, 50 gold per piece. Unlimited recycling of black wolf fur, 20 gold coins each. Unlimited recycling of animal bones, 30 gold coins each. Lin Moyu scanned the notifications. Alchemists, blacksmiths, and other life professions always needed raw materials to train their skills. They processed those materials into useful items, sold them, and in the process increased their own lifestyle profession levels. It was a healthy loop: gather, process, sell, level up, a steady path for anyone who wanted to make a living in the game. He let out a small, intrigued smile. This task is kind of interesting. Strategy. Level 14, West Sea Mine Dungeon. Objective, defeat the dungeon boss and obtain the Goblin King's crystal core. Note, only dungeon bosses at nightmare difficulty or higher will drop this item. The task reward was generous, 100,000 gold coins. That kind of payout made the difficulty obvious. The West Sea Mine lay south of Shihai City, a little more than 50 kilometers away. Lin Moyu checked the entry requirements. A level 14 strategy dungeon required a minimum player level of 10 to enter. He frowned. He wasn't close to that yet. There was no way he could go. Dungeons were ranked normal, nightmare, and hell. Lin Moyu didn't really know how hard a nightmare dungeon was. The book only said that nightmare difficulty was at least several times higher than normal. Without a strong team, it was basically impossible to clear, and hell-level dungeons were beyond the reach of ordinary professionals. After lingering at the exchange for a while, Lin Moyu left and walked to the city gate. The guards took the exit permit he handed over and checked his details. Lin Moyu, level 7, Necromancer? One guard read aloud. They looked baffled. It made no sense that someone at only level 7 would be allowed outside the walls when monsters beyond the city were at least level 10. A 3-level gap was dangerous. Still, the paperwork was in order, so the guards completed the verification. Your exit permit is valid, they told him. Unless there's a special restriction, people are free to come and go from the major cities of the Shenxia Empire, the gate guard said kindly. There are a lot of monsters out there. Watch your back and be careful. If things go wrong, run back. Don't worry about saving face, your life matters more. And especially at night, some monsters wait until darkness to launch sneak attacks. Lin Moyu gave a small salute. Thank you, I'll be careful. He stepped out through the gate into a cold wind. For a few moments the sky darkened and the air itself felt heavy and oppressive, as if the world beyond the walls belonged to another realm. A city wall had split two worlds. Lin Moyu moved on and was soon swallowed by the wilderness. The air grew thicker, carrying a faint metallic tang of blood. Distant roars echoed across the plain, and now and then he saw silhouettes locked in battle with beasts. Almost all of them seasoned fighters, at least level 10 or higher. The city wall receded behind him until it vanished from sight, and a thin fog began to blur his vision. At a thought from Lin Moyu, another skeleton warrior stepped out of the summoning space. There were now 28 skeletons in total. After resting and recovering his mental strength through meditation the previous night, he had been able to call up 4 more. Go, kill the creature in front, he ordered. The skeleton clicked forward. At the same time, Lin Moyu cast a detection spell. Goblin Patrol, level 10, power 120, agility 50, spirit 50, physique 120, skill none. The scan showed a level 10 goblin patrolman, a grim-faced brute swinging a mace. This creature relied almost entirely on raw strength. Its agility and spirit were pitifully low, though its thick hide gave it decent constitution. Still, those numbers were nothing next to the skeleton's strength. The skeleton's 4 core attributes combined reached a total of 750. far outclassing the goblin. Goblin packs like this were the dominant menace in the area, spreading all the way to the West Sea Mine, 50 kilometers away. In the blink of an eye, the skeleton closed the distance and attacked. The goblin spotted the skeleton warrior and struck first. Its mace whistled through the air and smashed into the skeleton without giving it time to dodge, the impact sounding like a heavy, bone-cracking bang. The blow was so powerful, the skeleton rattled and staggered, but that was all. Raising the tattered sword, clenched in its bony hand, the skeleton slashed back. Chapter 15. Rampage, Unstoppable. The goblin patrols retaliated with shrieks and swinging maces. They slammed wooden clubs into the skirmish, but the skeletons met them blow for blow. The contrast was almost comical. The goblins thudded and hacked with crude sticks. The skeletal blades flashed and cut. The exchange was fierce and exhilarating. A mace glanced off a skeleton's ribcage and only made it rattle. No real harm. But when the skeleton's dagger bit into a goblin, the damage was immediate and brutal. 5 swift cuts later, one patrolman screamed and collapsed in a spreading pool of blood. Kill level 10 Goblin Patrols. Experience obtain, Goblin's Bones. Lin Moyu checked his storage space. When you change jobs, you get a personal storage pocket that grows as you level up, perfect for holding items, materials, equipment, and rations. He experimented briefly, trying to slip a skeleton warrior into the space, but the living construct wouldn't go inside. Only material loot could be stored. One kill had already told him everything he needed to know about a level 10 monster. Creatures of the same level tended to be similar in strength. Satisfied, Lin Moyu tapped into the command in his mind and released the rest of his summoned troops. All 28 skeleton warriors sprang forward at once. Just like in the novice dungeon, the skeleton warriors scattered quickly and began hunting for targets on their own. The monster density out here in the wild was far higher than in the novice dungeon, and Lin Moyu's experience started climbing rapidly again, faster than before. Kill level 10, Goblin Patrol. Expane Goblin Bone. Kill level 10, Terrifying Grey Wolf. Experience 280. Obtain Wolf Pelt. The notifications scrolled across the screen so fast they felt like a barrage. Lin Moyu found himself a little dizzy watching them. At this rate, it would take less than an hour at most to hit level 8. That thought made him clench a fist. There was a small thrill in his chest. If he kept this up, reaching level 15 before the big exam shouldn't be a problem. Anything beyond that would depend on how experience gains changed after level 10. The skeleton warriors' movements drew attention. A few other players in the area, seeing the skeletons at first glance, assumed they were monsters. When they used a probe skill to check, however, they discovered these were summoned constructs. The summon was absurdly strong. Killing a level 10 monster was as easy as chopping vegetables. A few players had already tried to track the summoner by following the skeleton warrior, but the skeleton was far away. Lin Moyu simply recalled it remotely, no trace, no leads, and turned away from the open wilds into the forest. Forests were avoided by most players. The terrain was uneven, visibility poor, and ambushes common. The summoned skeletons scattered through the trees without trouble. The rough ground meant nothing to them. As they roamed, Lin Moyu formed a mental map of the area, every tree and thicket logged in his head. An hour later, the level-up glow appeared. He had reached level 8. The skeletons kept slaughtering monsters one after another, sending a steady stream of experience and materials back to him. No one had ever leveled so easily. Of course, other classes didn't have it so simple. Mages burned through mana. Knights grew exhausted after prolonged fighting. Every profession needed rest and recovery. Skeletons don't need rest. As long as their bones stay intact, they can keep fighting forever. No wonder. Lin Moyu stared at the empty grove. In just over an hour, he had cleared it of monsters. He pushed deeper and deeper, and before he realized it, he was farther from Shihai City than he had planned. The monsters he found now weren't limited to level 10 spawn. He was running into level 11, 12, even 13 mobs, and dispatching them without trouble. The skeletons might take a few more cuts, but their endurance was the point. They don't go down, and if they don't, they keep killing. A level 8 summoner, commanding a pack of Skell, Etons with unnaturally high attributes, where Lin Moyu went, Nothing survived. By afternoon, his experience had climbed to level 9, 99.0%, one step from level 10. The horde at his back had swelled to 40 skeletons, a tired, fearsome army that tore through the area. There was simply no force that could stand against them. "You can learn new skills at level 10, he muttered, "but I don't have a skill scroll." He sighed. "Looks like we'll have to rely on our innate abilities for now." Fortunately, the innate skills are strong enough. Even if no new skills show up, it won't stop the level ups. In this world, professionals get the opportunity to learn a new skill every 10 levels. There are 3 ways to acquire skills: being taught by a mentor, studying from a skill book, or using a skill scroll. Hidden professions like Lin Moyu's rarely have mentors, and because his is a unique profession, there are no skill books written for it. That leaves skill scrolls as his only option. Skill scrolls are sold on the exchange. The basic scrolls intended for professions below level 20 cost 100,000 gold each, painfully expensive. Using a scroll will randomly grant one of the skills for that profession, but there's a frustrating catch. The result is random and can duplicate a skill you already know. If that happens, the 100,000 gold is wasted. Later on, there will be intermediate and advanced scrolls, but their prices are even more astronomical. Lin Moyu wanted to learn new skills in this profession, and there was only one way to do it. She stared at the thought for a moment, weighing her options. While she was thinking, the level-up light flashed again. A moment later, a notification confirmed it. She had finally reached level 10. At the same time, a promotional banner slid across the screen. Dragon Boat Festival Reading Special. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Recharge now. Event period, June 22 to 24. Chapter 16. Skill Upgrade. Bronze Skull. Exaggerated Improvement. Lin Moyu opened his status window after the level up and scanned the numbers. Name, Lin Moyu. Occupation, Necromancer. Unique. Level 10, 0.0%, Power 100, Agility 100, Spirit 300, Physique 100, Equipment. Summon Space 4100, Skeleton Warriors, Quantity 40. Talent, Comprehensive Amplification, Level 2, Unique. Passive Skill, Damage Transfer Active Skills, Soul Flame for 10, Summon Skeleton Warrior, of 10. Comprehensive Amplification, of 2, increases the effects of all skills by 20 times. Damage Transfer. All damage the caster receives is borne by the summoned entity. Soul Flame, 10, burns the target's soul, dealing burn damage dependent on the caster's spirit and skill level. Summon Skeleton Warrior, 10, summons a bronze-rank skeleton warrior. He blinked at the spirit stat. Strength and agility hadn't changed much. Each level gave a predictable 10, steady and reliable, but his spirit had jumped straight to 300, a full increase of 120 points. It was a striking surge compared to the other attributes. They say attributes jump big after level 10. I'm a mage. The biggest boost comes to mental power. When Lin Moyu checked his skills, he felt a thrill. His talent multiplier had just doubled again, from a tenfold increase to a 20-fold increase. Even if nothing else changed, the skeleton warrior's combat strength would multiply many times over. Even better, the skeleton itself had upgraded. Its rank had risen from black iron to bronze. Lin Moyu could hardly wait to recruit it. The dull gray of a bronze skeleton was gone, replaced by a faint bluish-white glow. The cracks in its bones had nearly vanished, and the knife in its hand even looked a little brighter, definitely not something scavenged from the trash anymore. Bronze-rank skeleton warrior, power 3,000, agility 3,000, spirit 3,000, physique 3,000. Skill, Berserk Strike, Level 1. Frenzied Strike, Level 1, deals damage equal to 200% of the target's own power. Cooldown, 10 minutes. It was still the 4-dimensional balance attribute. The base stat had reached 150 points, and with the 20-fold global multiplier, it had been boosted to an astonishing 3,000 in every attribute. From the information Lin Moyu had, he couldn't tell what class rank that amount was equivalent to, but with those numbers, he could operate freely in this field. A new skill had also been added. The skeleton warriors gained an instant detonation ability. Nice. A brand new trick. He wondered whether it would be usable everywhere. A line from his previous life came to mind. You don't need flashy, complicated skills. one or two practical, powerful abilities are enough to dominate. That was exactly his situation. He had no dazzling wizard spells and no spectacular fighter techniques, but with what he did have, he could be ruthless. Confidently, he thought that anyone below level 20 wouldn't be a match for him. Normally, a level 10 couldn't defeat a level 20, but for him, it wouldn't be difficult at all. With the Skeleton Warrior's stats and passive abilities, it would take a long time to put it down. Even a level 20 attack wouldn't finish it off quickly. Lin Moyu was about to summon another bronze-rank skeleton when the air snapped with a sharp whistle. An arrow shot past her face. More arrows followed in quick succession. One struck her. An invisible membrane flared up, and the blow was redirected to the skeleton. Its passive triggered automatically. All the damage transferred to the bone soldier. Lin Moyu remained unhurt. Being attacked. The notification blinked on her HUD as the skeleton's eyes glowed red. It was now on full alert. A figure in black burst out of the trees, moving with terrifying speed and obvious agility. An assassin. He froze for a heartbeat when he saw Lin Moyu, then spun and bolted the other way, vanishing almost as fast as he'd arrived. 2 seconds later, another pair of figures came charging after him. From their outfits, Lin Moyu could tell their classes at a glance. An archer and a mage. The arrows from earlier had come from the archers, of course. If not for Lin Moyu's passive damage transfer ability, he would have been hit. The archer and the mage ignored him and sprinted off. Lin Moyu's eyes flicked toward their path. They were heading the wrong way. The black-clad man had changed direction here. They were pursuing the wrong trail and would come back empty-handed. Sure enough, a few seconds later, the two of them returned. The mage muttered as he began to cast, and Lin Moyu felt a gust of wind ripple around him. That one was clever, the mage sighed. He slipped away. It doesn't matter, the archer said. He only got away for now. We'll catch him. Then he turned to Lin Moyu. Hey, kid, did a man in black pass by here? Lin Moyu didn't answer the question directly. Quietly, he said, You hit me with an arrow. Sorry. The archer glanced down at the arrows scattered on the ground and realized what had happened. Sorry about that, he said. Lin Moyu waved his hand. No big deal. The archer, however, bristled slightly, as if Lin Moyu's calm dismissal had been a slight. The mage, already sulking, looked even darker, clearly annoyed that their quarry had escaped. He turned his head to the skeleton warrior, standing next to Lin Moyu. Undead summoner, he sneered, disgust curling at the corner of his mouth. The mage slowly lifted his staff. The skeleton's eye sockets flared red as it shifted into a fighting stance. The archer grabbed the mage's sleeve and hissed, Don't make trouble. The mage rolled his eyes and lowered the staff with a muttered, Fine. Watching them withdraw, Lin Moyu said coolly, You're lucky. He couldn't use any detection ability, but from the strength of that arrow he could estimate their power roughly. Not very high, probably no more than level 20. If they'd tried anything, Lin Moyu knew he could have killed them without much trouble. He wasn't some saint. If pushed too far, he'd return the favor 100-fold. In fact, the instant the mage had lifted his staff, Lin Moyu had already recalled every skeleton into his summoning space. They could be redeployed and surround the two in an instant. If the mage and archer had chosen to attack, they would have been torn to pieces. Immediate recharge, event period, June 22, 24. Chapter 17, Shield Badge. Kill level 10 Goblin Patrols, experience 3. Kill level 11 Goblin Soldiers, experience plus 350. Obtain Goblin Bones. Notifications flooded the screen in a steady stream, and the experience numbers climbed just as quickly. Lin Moyu's 44 bronze skeleton warriors were cutting through the forest monsters, and with his upgraded control and skills, he again felt the rush of one-hit kills. The bronze skeletons dispatched level 10 and level 11 goblins in a single blow, and the efficiency spike was obvious. But the cost of leveling shot up starting at level 10. The required experience nearly tripled. Progress slowed dramatically. By Lin Moyu's estimate, he'd need to slay on the order of 5,000 goblins to gain one level. The skeletons themselves never tired, mowing down enemies in seconds, yet even that relentless pace barely kept him afloat. Night fell, and he still hadn't made it. He was about 30% short of the experience needed for level 11. He set a small bonfire in a clearing and ate the rations he'd brought from home. He had no intention of returning to town. Time was too precious to waste on travel. At our current rate, we can almost hit level 13 tomorrow, Lin Moyu muttered, working the numbers in his head. But whether we can reach 15 the next day is iffy. After 15, the upgrade rate drops even more, and I'd have to wait a day before I could go back in. So at best, I can only get to 16. He thought of how his sister had managed to advance so quickly before. She's a legendary professional sword dancer, true, but she shouldn't be able to level faster than me. I must be missing something. Lin Moyu replayed everything he'd learned in class and compared it to Lin Mohan's activity log. Then it clicked, an instance of the West Sea Mine. Could his sister have teamed up with Ren to run that dungeon? Nightmare-level instances were packed with enhanced elite monsters, the kind that handed out massive experience. That would explain why she came back wounded and required medical attention. He clenched his fist, convinced his guess was right. I'll go check it out tomorrow, he decided. Night deepened. The woods within a 500-meter radius had been cleared of monsters, the last of them crushed by the skeleton warriors hiding in the shadows. Lin Moyu pulled in close to the bone sentries and began to meditate. With 44 skeletons on guard and his passive skills in effect, he had no real worry about safety. The forest at night was never entirely silent. Distant wolf howls cut through the dark. Occasional gusts tossed leaves into uneasy rustling. The air around Lin Moyu felt colder than elsewhere, as if the skeletal guards themselves made the wind colder and more ominous. In the middle of the night, one skeleton suddenly sounded an alarm. Lin Moyu blinked out of his trance. The sentinel had detected someone approaching. Through the darkness, a voice, dry and hollow, asked, "Are you a player out here to level up?" There were few who came into the forest at night to grind experience. Usually they were lost or reckless. Lin Moyu stayed perfectly still, but his senses sharpened. Outside, nothing could be taken lightly. Fire is the best guide at night. Before long, a figure stepped into Lin Moyu's line of sight. She recognized him, the cloaked person who had fled through the market that afternoon. "Anything to eat?" he asked. His voice was pleasant. The flames caught his large eyes and made them shine. Lin Moyu handed him a roasted sweet potato, the only food she had prepared, and a canteen of water. He didn't recoil. He lowered his mask and began to eat with obvious hunger. Under the cloth was a finely featured face, young, maybe 18 or 19, with a fresh, boyish look. Lin Moyu refrained from using her detection technique. It was rude to probe a stranger, and it could even provoke hostility. He spoke while he ate, and then suddenly began to cough, the potato catching in his throat. Lin Moyu handed him the canteen. He drank a few long sips until he recovered. "Thanks," he said clear. "Lie at last." She only nodded in return. The figure in black ate the sweet potato slowly, bite by deliberate bite. Lin Moyu sat still, and an odd silence settled over them. She didn't rush. Her movements were composed, almost graceful, and every so often she glanced up at him. Her eyes glittered in a way he couldn't read. He had no idea what she was thinking. When she finished, she finally broke the quiet. "What's your name?" Lin Moyu said nothing. She smiled, unfazed. "Not much for talking, huh? How about this? Let's scan each other." They both raised a fingertip. Faint light gathered around their hands as they activated the detection technique. Lin Moyu's probe met a blank wall. He froze for a second, unable to pull any information from her. She, on the other hand, watched him with a teasing little smile, clearly pleased. "Heh, nothing hiding here," she purred, as if she'd just won a small game. Then she rattled off what she'd gleaned. "So you're Lin Moyu, level 10, and your class is Necromancer? I don't think I've ever seen that before. Very strange." She leaned forward slightly. "I saw a skeleton by you this afternoon. Is that your summon? Undead summons are rare." She went on, rapid and curious, one question spilling into the next. "Why so quiet? Don't tell me you're mute. You don't seem like it." Lin Moyu looked at her and asked lightly, "Why?" Ning Yi's small face lit up with surprise. "So you can talk after all." "Why?" Lin repeated. Ning smiled and produced a small object that looked like a badge. "Want to know why the detection spell failed before? It's because of this." She held up the badge. "It's a shielding badge. As long as you wear it, detection spells cast by anyone up to 10 levels lower than you won't work. She slipped the badge back into her pocket. Okay, I'll take it off now. Try detecting me. Lin nodded and cast the detection spell again. This time it worked. Ningyi, level 19, Shadow Assassin. A gust of wind blew. Ning's smile vanished instantly, and Lin turned to look toward the direction it came from. Chapter 18. Skeleton warriors can also be used as meat shields. Lin Moyu had spotted the incoming threat thanks to the skeleton warrior. Besides the archers and mages they'd seen earlier, another figure had appeared, a knight with a sword and shield slung across his back. The three of them closed in from different directions and surrounded the pair. Ningyi frowned. The expression creased her delicate features. They just won't stop. It's only an intermediate skill scroll. Why have they been after me for days? She stamped her foot in irritation. I'm going. I'll come play with you again when I get the chance, she told Lin Moyu. Whoosh! A sharp arrow hissed out of the darkness. Ningyi reacted instinctively and rolled aside. The arrow detonated with a sharp crack, splitting into two beams of light that shot toward Lin Moyu and Ningyi. A bright mark suddenly appeared above each of their heads, glowing against the night as if a spotlight had been switched on. Marked arrow! Someone exclaimed. Ningyi went pale. She sensed immediately that something was very wrong. Lin Moyu's mind raced, turning over the written description of the marked arrow. Marked arrow is an archer skill that tags a target, making them stand out and preventing them from turning invisible. Marked arrows are especially effective against assassins because they neutralize stealth abilities. They're also useful in dungeon raids for dealing with invisible monsters. Once an archer's mark is on you, slipping away becomes almost impossible. A sneer cut through the air as the mage I'd met earlier stepped out of the trees. Above us, an archer was perched in a branch, and the knights had arrived as well. The mage gripped his staff, his cold eyes sweeping over Lin Moyu and Ningyi. You won't get away this time, he said. I knew you were in the same group. A filthy little rat of an assassin paired with a dark, evil undead summoner. What a match, the archer called down from the tree. A faint glow pulsed in Ningyi's palm, and a blue-tinged dagger winked into being. He has nothing to do with this, she said. Take the skill scroll and let us go our separate ways. The archer laughed. That might have worked yesterday, but right now it's safer to kill you. From the shadows, the mage added, The dead don't talk. If you're dead, no one will ever know we have intermediate skill scrolls. Saves us a lot of trouble. I'll hold them off for a while. Run, Ningyi whispered. Lin Moyu stared at her. What about you? Ning smiled without cheer. I'm a shadow assassin. Night is my battlefield. I'll find a way out. Lin Moyu didn't really believe her. If Ningyi had been strong enough to fight through, she wouldn't be in this position now. The three enemies were plainly superior. Worse, the archer's marked arrow had already hit Ning. That kind of mark suppresses stealth. Even for a shadow assassin, it would be almost impossible to slip away now. The night is meant for dreams. Don't dally. Let's get this over with, the archer said in a low voice. The mage lifted his staff. It won't just be you who dies tonight. That little one dies too. His staff erupted in pure, brilliant light. A huge globe of radiance climbed into the sky, bathing the area in a glare like midday. It was an illumination spell, not just to light the darkness, but to banish shadow, sharpen the mage's aim, and most importantly, foil an assassin's stealth. The sudden brightness made Ningyi tighten inwardly. This was bad. She couldn't remain hidden now. A flicker of blue sparked in her palm, and a dagger of the same hue materialized. Her whole body went taut. Her large eyes narrowed, sharpening as she searched for any opening. The archer perched in the trees had already drawn his bow to the full and was ready to loose an arrow. The knight had drawn his sword and raised his shield, poised to charge. The mage's staff continued to glow, relentless and blinding. They closed in on her from all sides, encircling her with no escape. At that, Lin Moyu lifted a finger and a skele, Tau warrior materialized in front of him. The mage sneered, disgust clear on his face. Ha, what a waste of effort, he spat. Then he thrust his staff forward. Big fireball! A 1-meter-wide ball of flame formed out of thin air and hurtled toward them, roiling with heat. Big fireball was a high-level spell. Only a level 20 mage could master it, and its blast would maim even if it didn't kill. Ningyi's face went pale. "Get down," she cried, yanking Lin Moyu back. But the attack did more than summon fire. As the mage unleashed the spell, a thin, invisible filament of psychic energy streamed from his staff, snaking around their ankles. Ningyi felt a sudden weight drag at her limbs, and her retreat slowed. Seeing them slowed, the archer fired. The bowstring sang, an arrow launched, and then split into 3 in midair. 1 arrow becomes 3, the archer's 1 arrow turns 3 skill, turning a single shot into a triple attack aimed straight at the entangled pair. The knight lunged, charging at them with terrifying speed. "It's over," he bellowed. Ningyi's face went pale. She shoved Lin Moyu aside with a hard, desperate push, sending him out of the knight's reach. At the same moment, 2 skeleton warriors materialized at her left and right, joining the one that had already been standing guard. The 3 skeletons locked into formation like living shields, bracing to protect her. The mage reacted instantly, hurling a massive fireball. It struck one of the skeletons dead center and detonated, engulfing the bones in roaring flames. The archer followed with 3 rapid bolts that clanged against another skeleton with a metallic ring. The knight slammed into the third, but instead of crumbling, the skeleton barely budged. The impact hurled the knight backward through the air. As the fire died down, 1 skeleton stepped out of the embers, its bones glowing with a cold bluish-white light. It showed no burns, no cracks, no sign of damage. The mage stared, stunned. He had already checked with his control technique. Lin Moyu was only a level 10 Necromancer. Summoned creatures cannot exceed their summoner's level, so a skeleton should only be level 10. With the knight's level 21 strength, he should have been able to destroy it in seconds. How could it still be standing? The archers and knights stood frozen in disbelief. What kind of summoned creature was this? It was terrifyingly powerful. Click, click, the ratcheting sound of bone echoed as skeleton warriors materialized all around. 44 of them closed in, encircling the 3 of them. Chapter 19. The first time to kill. Do it simply. It wasn't just the 3 of them who stood frozen. Ningyi was too. Her eyes went wide and her mouth fell open. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. It was almost comical how stunned she looked. They had already seen Lin Moyu's skeleton warrior once today. It was supposed to be a lowly level 10 summon. Its bones were cracked in places. The weapons it carried were rusted and broken. It looked fragile. And yet, somehow, it was devastating. A level 20 mage's spells couldn't lay a scratch on it. The archer's triple shot and the knight's charging strike did nothing. Level 10? The label felt like a cruel joke. Then quantity showed its face. Columns of flame flared up in the night, and more skeleton warriors rose, appearing silently from the darkness and closing in to form a ring around them. Lin Moyu said nothing. He simply stepped back toward Ningyi, his eyes cold with killing intent. "Kill!" he ordered. At the thought, the skeletons moved as one. The mage's face went white. His hands trembled on his staff as he scrambled to summon a defense, and a shimmering barrier sprang into being around him, an energy shield, the mage's signature skill. The higher the mage's level, the thicker and stronger that shield. Now, with skeletal blades tightening the circle, that barrier would have to hold. They say god-tier mages are safe from forbidden spells so long as their shields hold. The truth was less flattering up close. Mages are slow, low on mobility, nowhere near as agile as an archer. Surrounded by a ring of skeleton warriors, he had no room to dodge. One of the skeletons raised its blade and brought it down. The mage's energy shield twisted and warped under the impact. His face went white. The barrier, which should have shrugged off that strike, creaked and splintered as if under impossible force. What kind of stats did these skeletons have? Their strength was terrifying. There was no time to puzzle it out. A second skeleton's knife flashed and fell. With a ringing crack, the energy shield shattered, spraying 1,000 glittering motes before dissipating entirely. He reacted on instinct and unleashed another spell. A massive ring of fire burst outward, roaring through the clearing and hurling several skeletons backward more than 10 meters. For a heartbeat, he allowed himself the relief of a successful counterattack. Then everything went black. 2 skeletons had already leapt on him, one to each shoulder, and he never got the chance to cast again. Their blades were a blur, and the next instant the mage's head was severed and sent flying into the air. In under 2 seconds, the mage was dead. The archer was running for his life, chased by the skeleton warrior, panic written all over his face. Seeing the mage slaughtered before his eyes had frozen him with fear. He was more nimble than the mage, but nothing compared to a skeleton whose agility sat at a terrifying 3,000 points. He kept activating his evasion skills, trying desperately to slip out of the skeleton's encirclement, but every attempt failed. As the skeleton closed in, the space he had to maneuver shrank until there was almost nowhere left to go. Compared with the corpse of the mage and the cornered archer, the knight was in a much better position. He glowed with a blinding, pulsing light and kept launching his charge skill, sprinting further away. The knight's luminous aura was stronger than the mage's energy shield, holding fast. Even when the skeleton's blade struck him, it left no mark. Lin Moyu recognized the skill at once. Extreme defense, he thought. It was one of the knight's core abilities, and he hadn't expected this particular knight to have mastered it. Once activated, the ultimate defense made the user almost invulnerable for a short time. I didn't know the exact limits, but someone had tested it. A level 20 knight using ultimate defense could barely withstand an assault from a level 40 mage. It was only tolerable, not invincible, but enough to show how powerful the skill could be. A knight who had mastered ultimate defense was practically a different class from one who hadn't. It wasn't a skill you could learn from a book either. There were no formal manuals. You could only pick it up from skill scrolls, and getting one was a matter of luck. The knight fled in a blind panic as the skeleton warriors closed in. A scream behind him told him the archer was down. The mage and the archer had fallen together. He was white with terror. How had these skeletons become so deadly? If he'd known, he never would have come. No intermediate skill scroll was worth his life. Use your skills, Lin Moyu snapped. Cut him off. Don't let him get away. He couldn't allow the knight to escape. The man had killed one of their own, and Lin Moyu meant to see him finished cleanly. A red glow flared along the skeleton warrior's blade as it struck. A mechanical voice rang out. Furious blow! Deals 200% damage to the target. The skeleton's strength stat read 3,000, and when they activated their skills, their damage doubled. Use your skills too, someone urged. Even the ghostly knights were frightening, but the skeletons could use skills as well. It felt like a crime against nature. The broadsword flashed red as it fell on one of the knights. The knight's white defensive aura flickered and dimmed with the first hit, then again with the second and the third. Ultimate defense was supposed to last a full minute if left alone, but sustained attacks cut its duration short. The skeletons spammed their abilities desperately. The knight's shield shrank away under the barrage. More skeletons pressed in, cutting off any chance of escape. It was hopeless. 10 seconds later, the knight was torn apart by the skeletons, dying unwillingly. Either don't do it, or don't be soft if you do. Lin Mohan had warned Lin Moyu that very thing, and Lin Moyu had followed the advice without hesitation. Ning Yi still hadn't reacted. The whole fight barely lasted 20 seconds from start to finish. All three were dead. The one who had started it hadn't even moved. He just stood there. Lin Moyu nodded. Ning Yi had been right. They were all gone. A skeletal warrior ran back, lugging a pile of items. When a player dies, the contents of their storage drop to the ground. The skeleton gathered everything up. Items recovered. Bronze level Carmen staff, Spirit 20, increases mage skill power by 5%, usable at level 18 or above. Bronze level Carmen warbow, agility 20, increases bow and arrow skill power by 5%, usable at level 18 or above. Bronze level Kamen sword, strength 10, constitution 10, increases offensive skill power by 5%, usable at level 18 or above. Bronze level Carmen shield, constitution 20, increases defensive skill effects by 5%, usable at level 18 or above. Chapter 20, New Skill, Corpse Explosion. 4 pieces of equipment were laid out neatly in front of them. One was a bronze-tier weapon that gave off a faint bluish-white glow, the same kind of sheen that the skeleton warriors had. Ning Yi said, "These all came from the Common Orc Legion dungeon." Lin Moyu looked puzzled. He'd never heard of that dungeon. Seeing his confusion, Ning Yi explained, The Kamen Orc Legion is a level 20 dungeon outside Shanghai City. The three of them run it often. Lin Moyu nodded. The 4 bronze items were useless to him, but they could be sold for some coin. He tossed them into his pack without a second thought. Ning Yi didn't object. There were also some crafting materials, wolf pelts, animal bones, and a few sprigs of young grass. Not a great quantity, but worth keeping. Lin Moyu accepted those as well. Even small scraps could be sold. Once the weapons and materials were stowed, only one item remained, a primary skills scroll. Introduction. Skills below level 20 can be obtained, and it's possible to acquire skills you've already learned. It turned out to be a primary skills scroll. Lin Moyu stared at the parchment in his hands, worth 100,000 gold coins, a small fortune. He hesitated. Use it himself or sell it? Ning Yi watched him, curious. You haven't used that scroll yet, have you? Lin shook his head. No. I haven't tried it. You should use it, she said. You might get one of the skills you already know, or you might learn something new. You're not thinking of selling it for the money? Lin asked. Are you that short on funds? Ning Yi shrugged, unconcerned. A basic skill scroll. It's not even a high-level one. 100,000 gold isn't that much. The way she said it made the amount sound trifling. Clearly she was used to a very different standard of wealth. Lin cradled the scroll, turning it over in his hands. So, how do I use it? She giggled. It's simple. Hold the scroll and say you want to use it. He didn't doubt her. It sounded straightforward. Holding the scroll with both hands, he cleared his throat and spoke aloud. Use. The scroll remained inert in his palms, the parchment unmoving. That's not right. You didn't speak loudly enough. You have to shout to use it, Ning Yi said. Lin Moyu looked at her and didn't make a second attempt. He'd never used the thing before, but he wasn't stupid. He didn't believe a whisper would be the trigger. He'd already guessed how it worked, so he activated the skill scroll with his mental power instead of calling out. Ning Yi was watching him expectantly, waiting for him to say the command. He never did. Suddenly the scroll flared into brilliant light and wrapped around him. Ning's face fell. So you figured it out, she said, disappointed. She had wanted to tease him, and her prank had failed. The light condensed into a ball and disappeared into Lin Moyu. A system message floated through his mind. Acquired skill, Corpse Burst. Corpse Burst, level 1. Detonate a corpse, dealing damage equal to 10% of the corpse's HP to enemies within 1 meter. He'd gained a new skill. The scroll hadn't been wasted. It was only level 1 for now, with a maximum level of 10. At first glance, it didn't look particularly impressive. Only 1 meter? That's useless. Who could do anything with a 1 meter radius? Lin Moyu frowned, then realized he'd misjudged the skill because he hadn't understood how necromantic life value worked. To a necromancer, a corpse is still a kind of living thing. Its vitality resides in the flesh, the blood, the bones, even the remnants of the soul. A dead body's life value doesn't necessarily drop the moment the heart stops. Some powerful corpses resist decay for centuries, continuously radiating energy. Once he read the skill's true parameters, Lin Moyu saw it wasn't meant to be used the way ordinary summons were. This ability was a group attack. Skeletons hacking down enemies one by one would be far too slow against thousands of foes. Instead, the Necromancer detaches and detonates corpses. A corpse explodes, killing everything within its radius. Those killed become corpses in turn, which can be detonated again. As long as the caster has spirit to spare, the explosions can cascade until the battlefield is cleared. With his talent, the original 1 meter limit was no longer a problem. His range had already been pushed out to 20 meters, and the destructive power had climbed to 200%. Another lethal spell added to his arsenal. Because of his innate talent, almost every ability he picked up felt like a divine skill. When the glow from the scroll faded, Ning Yi blinked her wide eyes and looked at him expectantly. So, did you learn anything new? Yes, Lin Moyu said. He didn't hold a grudge about her teasing. Ning Yi was just playful and mischievous, and he wasn't so petty as to begrudge her a joke. She beamed. You have such a nice voice. Why don't you ever talk? It's a shame. Lin Moyu studied her for a moment. This girl was nothing like the girls at his school, lively, impish, full of life. Your voice is nice, too, he said. That was a rare compliment from him. It wasn't that he disliked speaking, he just didn't like idle chatter. He talked plenty in front of his sister, Lin Mohan, and their grandmother. Ning Yi giggled with pleasure. Thanks for the compliment. I know my voice is lovely. To thank you for saving Miss Ben, and because you praised her, I want to give you something. With that, she pulled a small box from somewhere and pressed it into Lin Moyu's hand. Notes: skills between level 40 and 70 can be awakened with this scroll. It can also teach learned skills. In the black market exchange, an intermediate skill scroll can fetch as much as 10 million gold coins, 100 times the price of a primary scroll. That kind of money makes the scroll exorbitant and rare. For Lin Moyu, in her current situation, that price was astronomical. Ning Yi had told her plainly the person who had chased her down earlier was after this scroll. That explained the sudden pursuit and the desperate intensity of the hunt. A system announcement blinked across the screen, cutting through the conversation. Dragon Boat Festival Special. Recharge 100 and receive 500 VIP coupons. Limited time only, June 22nd to June 24.